Okay, Chef, we're ready to go.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to second day seminar, Chefs Manifesto India Gathering 2021. Yesterday, we had the fantastic day. There were a lot of learnings, there were a lot of information exchange happened, and I think we were many of us who were presented and come across few things very new in the first time, maybe. Like Paul spoke about that how Chefs Manifesto started and explained the SDG goals of the United Nations, which are 2005 and the objectives of 2030, that how we are going to achieve it. And the most important, the SDG 2, is linkage with almost all the SDG goals, where plays a very important role, and there how the chefs or the food community can play a very important and a big role to achieve our objectives of SDG UN. Um, and Paul gave the examples that how the chefs are, involved with the farmers of many parts of the world, like South Africa, Hong Kong, and all that. How they are working very closely, and the results are very positive in every aspect of the food. And even to work on there are a lot of byproducts of the food can be created, which are worth much more valuable for the mankind than just to waste them or throw them. And I remember that in our training time also, there are a lot of food we have to prepare as a byproduct and sell almost on the same rate where the main product is sold. Then also thinking of all these things is very important, and we should also think in our operations of creating the byproducts and getting the value out of it. And that will give, there will be enough food also when we'll use the byproducts, and that will definitely help that there is a good food for all. Uh, then the UN's Food System Summit 2021, which was very well taken up by Katie and Paul, and the food systems, and it was very nicely defined, and that the food heroes, you can become a food hero, and it's not that there will be one food hero, there can be many. As much to join and work for it and become the food hero. And I think that will be a great service or a great achievement. One can do it. Then come to the session of farmers with Vijaya Baskaran. And I must say that in the whole program yesterday, I must compliment all the chefs who have worked, who anchored the discussions, and the fantastic display of multi-skilling of the chefs, that they can, they're complete by themselves and they can handle things, not just in the kitchen, but otherwise in the society. It's very, my compliments to all the anchors. Vijay Bhaskar did a fantastic job, taken out the best out of both the farmers, and both the farmers has given Sray also, has given a very nice, on the biodiversity, that if you want to take the best of biodiversity, it has to be on the biodiverse crops has to be taken also from the earth, so that the earth is always charged and ready to grow many different kind of things in the whole year, and making the best use of the climate and the quality of the way the earth is, make use of them and use the best biodiversity farming, and which gives good nutrition and very balanced nutrition around the year to all the consumers. And the the Khandelwal the Harpal Singh Grewal has really given a lot of light on this. And I must confess myself, I never knew about food laws. Spending so much of time in the food and cooking and all that, but never knew about the food laws. Thank you very much, Mr. Grewal, to enlighten us on the food laws. And I think we all chefs will try to understand them and try to make best use of them. That how we can improve our food, supplies, understanding the food laws. Thank you very much, Mr. Grewal, informing us about the food laws, and and there was enough, the discussion there how we can involve the local farmers and interact with them as a food community, so that the farmers also get encouraged and they also understand that ultimately their food not only going to the mandis but how it is turning into a plate. And that is the best part with the farmers will get encouraged and they will support the chefs or the food community to grow according to their requirement. And farmers should be involved even into the, I'll say, once we tried also to get the farmers on a thematic buffet or maybe a Saturday or Sunday where the farmer can also come and be a part of the buffet which is produced from their crop, and let farmer also interact with the customers or to the consumers and may enlighten them more about the fresh crops and the fresh food from the farmers. And these days farmers don't think farmers will not be able to have the decorum of the hotel. They are well educated and they well have mannerism they have and they understand all these things, and they will help you in improving your sales as the times are coming in. And people, because everybody is hungry about the knowledge and they like to know. Most of that we have seen in the COVID, the uh, the the information on food. People are really hungry. They want to know about the food. And after that, the Gayatri's food demonstration was fantastic. Our film on the farm was very good, even including the Gaushala where the cows were. It was very, very informative. And, that how the carrots and the turnips and spinach and, all the cauliflower is grown. These are very seasonal vegetables these days. And it's fantastic. And the and she make a very good use of the radish beans. The beans which she used, we call it mugra, in our language. But they say very good vegetable is also prepared with them, and even like pickling also. They're the beans of the when the radishes ripen, and from this the beans and the seeds of the radish comes out. It was fantastic, and both the recipes were very nice, Gayatri. Thank you very much. And after that, Radhika absolutely to the point, had a discussion with Rahul Singh and Jaspal Sabharwal, and both of them are very knowledgeable and really informed to the point. Like Jaspal has given a fantastic data, and I think that data, when every person who is in the business of food and beverage or the restaurant or anything, and definitely make use of that data and strategize his future business, that how or which area, which side he must go and make a successful business. Jaspal did fantastic, and Rahul has given absolutely detail of the business, and no doubt that structured business of food and beverage in our country is not easy to do. It's very, very difficult to do. But ultimately, if we want the health of the business, it is only possible if it is structured. And to work on that, I think the Rahul, the whole food community is with you. Where whatever we can do, we will be part of you, and we will be forward to make the to approach the authorities so that the business can become more ethical and structured, so that health of the business people, health of the business can be achieved. The next, the fantastic by the, uh, hence I agree, and with the nitrogen-free uh, vegetables and how Vimal, I think is, how he has, they come there, group of people and connected the farmers and started doing the, agriculture on a contract or on a corporation form. And I'm sure that each farmer must have gained a lot out of this. And because then they can focus more on just just working on the fields, and there are other people, honest people, who are there to take care of their marketing and the money and the rest of the thing, so they can get the better value of their crops. And as we have seen in the 4 years, that what number they have achieved, and that shows that this is absolutely to the right direction. And I must say good luck to Vimal for their and their organization. And how, when the technology people, engineers and all that have joined with the agriculture, and how beautifully they have to improve the yields, and beautifully they have mixed up the technology and the traditional practices, so that crops are also good, but they are with a high yield and high productivity. Fantastic job they are doing. And Rajiv Gulshan was done at last. Uh, that how it's very, very important that we all are discussing, but ultimately the students who has to understand all these things, it's our job to make them understand and to teach them in their colleges, in the schools, so that they are able to practice them and from the day one in their career, in the food career, and so that they are really, the results will be there in multiples, and we will be able to achieve whatever the people have conceived the ideas and all that, and they will bring them into the practical part of that. So our will be able to achieve much better and much faster. And at last, I only appeal to all the people who are listening this, who are part of this, spread the word of Chefs Manifesto to as many people. It is not, the Chefs Manifesto can be copied or can be practiced in your own home kitchen also. It is not very technical. It's not that you need some special equipment to do this. It is only a good practices, even if you do at home also, to spread to the people and become, sign this and have a commitment to the Chefs Manifesto, so that we achieve the results much faster and better. So I only appeal that join to the Chefs Manifesto and do the follow up also, and make other people also, make them understand. If you can make a copy of, some people are not, the copy is not available to them, give the available, make them available, and explain them and follow it up. That's my appeal to all the listeners. And thank you very much. This is what I have today. And I over to Anahita to explain about today's program, and all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chef Manjit. Thank you for giving us such a great overview of everything that happened yesterday. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to all our esteemed panelists, to everyone who's joined, chefs, farmers, advocates, our international guests who've joined us today on day 2 of the Chefs Manifesto India Gathering. Thank you so much for taking out time. We started at 2 o'clock. Chef Manjit has given us an overview of day 1 and what all was shared with us on day 1. It was very, very informative. If you would like to watch it, you can watch it on the Facebook page of the Chefs Manifesto. It's already on the chat, so you can find it there. You can share it with your colleagues as well. And if you would like, you can also join the Instagram page to know more about the chefs who've been working with the Chefs Manifesto. Today's program, I'm just going to give you a quick run through. It'll just take 2 minutes. So we've just done an introduction. I am also going to hand it over to Mr. Paul Newnham. He's the director of the SDG2 Advocacy Hub. He's going to just show a quick 2-minute video before we start with our presentation by Dr. Pashupati. He will be talking to us about the relationship between cultivator, chef, and care, which is 3Cube. Then we go on to an exciting panel with Paul and 3 international chefs. After that, we have another exciting panel with Chef Vanshika Bhatia, and again, very, very esteemed people who will be in her panel. I will tell you that more about that once we get there. We also have a demonstration by Chef Megha Kohli and a presentation by Chef Soundararajan. And we've also got a Q&A session after that with Chef Vijaya Baskaran and Professor Trilochan Shastri. Again, another exciting presentation by Chef Abhijit Saha, and a panel lastly with Chef Salil, who will be an anchor, and Chef Rajiv, Gulshan, and Chef Sabi, and some closing notes by Mr. Paul Newnham. So I've just given you a quick recap, a lot of exciting things. Everyone who's joined here, from students to farmers to our panelists, please be around from now till 5 o'clock because we've got all these things lined up for you. I'm just going to hand it over to Paul Newnham. He just wants to show you a quick video before I give you an introduction to Dr. Pashupati's presentation. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Chef Anahita and Chef Manjit, for such an amazing welcome. It's so exciting to be back with you today. We had just such great conversations yesterday, and I think today's lineup is going to be really, really exciting as well. We're going to go deeper on lots of different issues, and so I'm super excited about getting stuck into the content. If you're new, if you weren't able to join yesterday, the Chefs Manifesto is a network of chefs around the world that are working on the Sustainable Development Goals, and they're using their voice to be advocates. If you want to learn more about it, please go to chefsmanifesto.com. I noticed that there's a number of chefs that have signed up since yesterday, and so they'll be being set up on our site. And so then there'll be a member of the Chef Manifesto. If you haven't done that, please come and join us. And then you'll hear about future events. You'll be able to then download, as Chef Manjit said, the action plan and really start to action that in your kitchen, to take it forward and use that as a way of helping to describe some of the practices that you're bringing. So without taking up too much time, we're going to dig in the next session with a number of chefs from different parts of the world. And these chefs are going to help us understand how the Chefs Manifesto is taken forward. But I'm now going to show a video that comes from, that was filmed at the Chef Manifesto Action Hub in London, which Chef Arthur Potts Dawson, who's going to be on the panel shortly, is the head chef at. And it's just really about how chefs are using their voice. And so we're going to put that video on now, Barbara. And then straight after that, I'm going to hand back to Chef Anahita.
White collar never fit clean on me. Only thing nice is the jeans on me. Playing dirty, trying to switch on me. Only thing pretty is the...
Wherefore art thou from?
Where's it going?
What is it?
Is it in season?
How far has this traveled? Is that happy?
You sure you need it?
As chefs, we ask questions about food.
I've been out here wildin'. Angel on my shoulder saying about it.
Why so much plastic?
We sit between the food you eat
And how it gets to you.
I swear to God, if my
So we're getting together from all countries, all parts of the industry.
all walks of life.
To bring positive change to the kitchen.
We're talking soil,
Carbon,
waste,
diversity,
Biodiversity.
Water.
accessibility.
and what have we got to say for ourselves?
Plenty.
This is the Chef's Manifesto.
I've been out here wildin'.
Thank you so much, Paul, for sharing that Chefs Manifesto video. For everyone who's joined in, good afternoon. And we've just started our session for day 2 at the Chefs Manifesto India Hub. Before I start the presentation, which I will be giving an introduction to, I just want to tell you about our speaker, Dr. Pashupati Venkat. He's a national advisor to the FHRAI. He's a lead expert at the FSSAI. He is got multiple doctorates in biology. He's an advisor, Food Grain Merchants Association, and part of the All India Catering Association. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Pashupati, and you can start your presentation. We're very, very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to all the panelists, to the chefs fraternity, and to the young students who are also attending this. I will be very brief and short, and I requested Chef Soundararajan that I shall speak on what is very pet to me. Today, I'm not going to address you as a scientist, more as somebody who's mobilizing society as a farmer. You know, for the past 30 or more years, I've been working with the farmers of India on natural farming. I wouldn't call it as, in quote, certified organic farming. It is absolutely 100% natural farming without chemicals. And the work that we have done throughout, and whatever problems that we repeatedly discuss at the national level, at the international level, in various forums with regard to health, the real change maker, the only possible solution for the entire world now seems that it is going to be the hero in the climax, the chef. If the chefs think on certain things with a bit more sensitivity, which they are very well known for, they have been highly responsive. So I expect that the real solutions will emerge from there. And now, why do I say this? There are about 500 odd vegetable varieties that are available in India, out of which 28 only have been commercialized. And out of the 28, about 4 vegetables dominate 80% of the market. Now think about it. From a huge biodiversity that you have, from what your Mother Earth is giving you, and out of whatever is even available in the market of 28, with 4 varieties you do so much. The loss that you have in what you ignore is tremendous, not just in terms of wealth, but in terms of its micronutrients, in terms of how it can make the whole environment sustainable, how it can make the whole food chain sustainable, and how would it make the farmer's life better, and how would it transform the hospitality industry and the catering industry in a new dimension. Because the 4 most popular varieties are completely market driven with huge price variations. The Indian chefs who are here would accept and know that at some point of time in a year, the tomato is just 5 rupees a kilo or 6 rupees a kilo, and suddenly it becomes 80 rupees. In no other food you will have 1,600%, like there's so much of, inflation. But the original Indian vegetables, the original things that the farmer can produce in India are standard throughout the year with just an inflation of 1 or 2 rupees per kg. Now, what is more sensible for a chef to work? Do you want to risk your entire menu on something which is played by the market? Or do you want to work with something which has got a very standard pricing, which has got more micronutrients, which is extremely good for you, which is seasonal, which can bring out the ethnic authenticity in what you do? I think if I were to be a chef, I would definitely recommend for choosing something which is native to your place. So this is where the the simple solution to a very complex solution lies. Because we have been repeatedly discussing in various forums the nutrition status of the world, where we have, and about the hygiene. We're telling that 80% of the diseases, communicable disease, come because you don't wash your hands. 40% of diarrhea comes because you don't wash your hands. 20% of communicable disease death is because you don't wash your hands. But we forget to understand that 90% of the non-communicable diseases in the world come because we have not understood our farmlands and our farmers. And if you understand what nature has given to a particular geographical location and what the farmer can do with that, you will be able to find a larger answer, because you will find that the diseases from which we suffer, the animals around us are not necessarily suffering. So if you just take a clue from something which is there, from the animals, then you will understand that the solution lies with you. And this is where I have great hope on the chefs community, because with all the ingenuity that they've got, with all the innovative spirit that they've got, they're perfectly capable of transforming this, because there are multiple issues. Issue number one is about nutrition. A simple choice between rice and millet. By millet cultivation, what you achieve a lot of things. Number one, you get your micronutrients without any strain. Number two, your water consumption is roughly about 220 to 230 times less. 220 to 230 times less. For example, let us say that 1 kg of rice demands 1,000 liters of water to be used. Millet demands about 5 liters, 6 liters per 1 kg of yield. So that is the kind of difference, the carbon load on environment, the sequestering ability of the millet. Number three, the RDI, the available, available nutrients like magnesium, calcium, etc., that is so essential for your body from the millets. And number four, the economy of the farm. Now, with all these advantages, if something is very easily growing and something is possible, and most importantly, the fifth benefit of that is that your cattle feed quality becomes extremely good. So if something can make your cattle live better, if something can achieve better results to the environment, if something can be less strenuous on water availability, if something is good for the human nutrition, and if something is cheaper than what you get through your normal thing, I think there's no reason why we should not support it. And the person who can do this, because you can write any script, you can write any song, but the hero of the whole show has to make the film great, and the hero is the chef. And it is time that the chefs community around the globe, and particularly the Indian chefs, take this mantle of being a hero in the whole show and take the wisdom from the script of our traditional sciences and the real clues from our native farmers and adopt and try to experiment with our native food. For example, I'm talking from my personal experience. I was very pained with the farmer suicides. So I first went by cycle from Kanyakumari to Kashmir in India. Then I walked my way throughout. Then I understood that the farmer suicide have to be stopped, and for which some cash management, some cash crops have to be there for them. And the simplest solution was vegetable and growing of spinach and leafy vegetables. I thought first I will do this experiment with 5 acres. Then I slowly reduced. Today, in about 25 cents, the organization which I patronize, which I mentor, called nalakire.com, in 25 cents, I'm able to assure that the farmer is able to get 18,000 rupees a month 18,000 rupees is the least. Some of the farmers, my farmers, get more than that in just 25 cents of land, which is quarter of an acre. And believe me that these 44 types of leafy vegetables that I grow have huge nutrition value, and they have very great taste. And the chefs who have actually used it have become very innovative, and the chefs have made tea out of it. Some chefs have made even desserts out of the leafy vegetables, and many chefs have made soups. Of course, most of the chefs have made the normal curries with it. Now, why I'm telling this is, if the solution is so near you, because let us understand that we are having two great threats. One is the genetically modified plants, another is the pesticide residue. We are not able to get any valuable information from the different district authorities or the state authorities, or globally from many governments, the original count of pesticide residues. The companies keep changing their names. The advocacy is slightly different, but we have little transparency on the pesticide residue and the target pesticides. Now, this huge load of pesticides on one side, and when you go to a doctor or when you meet an expert nutritionist, they keep telling us, take the direct food, take raw vegetable. Now, even when it is, you call it as Eat Right India or Eat Right World or any kind of a national or international program, it says, take raw vegetables, take raw fruits. Now, that is where the maximum direct pesticide residues are there. The thing is, it is not that the taking raw can be bad for your health. It is the best form of taking food, because sun is the real master chef. But the problem is, with so much of pesticide residue, what will you do? So, if the chefs start doing their innovation with the original natural food that is grown in their locality, in their geographical zone, and encourage seasonal products and get into more authentic cuisine from them, instead of being nationally uniform or internationally uniform through different recipes. If they can make it very, very customized for that geographical region and make it more authentic, I think we are solving a lot of issues. Because this huge amount of pesticide residues is a problem. I'll tell you why I'm talking about this point. For example, it is a long time since we have seen the original chili, red chili in India. The red chili that we now eat is internationally acceptable, and for the chefs and for the whole community, for the processing industry, it is an acceptable variety called 341. Now, that is the only variety that the farmer is forced to grow if he has to be a commercial success. Now, that is the only variety that the industry is forced to buy. And it is the only variety that the chef is forced to cook. When you have in a country about minimum 42 to 43 varieties, and each one had their medicinal properties and micronutrients in a spice like chili, red chili, which is common in every household in India, reduced to just one or two varieties, and particularly one variety, just because it is industrially acceptable. And that is a plant where the normal farmer cannot use the seed. You have to buy the seed from some global company. Now, what's happening? We have forced it upon ourselves. It is a sort of a suicide. Now, the only psychiatrist who can take the whole food chain of this out of the suicide conundrum is the chef, because he is the only solution. But because when a top chef starts using something which is original, then the food processing industry will wake up that we don't have to demand only this variety. Then the farmer will understand that he will feel confident that now I can grow my native variety. Now, the moment farmer decides that what is grown naturally in my place, I'm able to cultivate, then the whole problem of this whole cycle stops. You put a very reasonable end to pesticide residues, you put a full stop to GMOs, and the food cycle becomes a more straightforward one, as it was before 40, 50 years. So, I'm just telling you this, certain very simple example. For example, tamarind. tamarind is so anti-inflammatory, and tamarind has got great medicinal properties. But unfortunately, it has come to a stage where the doctors and many of them prescribe don't take tamarind and take tomato instead. It is purely because the original tamarind is sweet so much. And believe me, tamarind is one of those products which is not commercially grown. But even in that product, now what we do is, many of you may not know, or some of you may be knowing, normally in a place like Chennai, there used to be 2 tamarinds, one for the, pastry kolambu, the other for sambar. Now that is all gone. It is only one kind of tamarind that is accepted. And the joke is, after you take from the fruit, peel off and take the seed and the pulp out, there's a white layer on the skin, and that is pasted artificially on the tamarind because that is what people accept. People don't accept the original tamarind. The chefs don't accept the original tamarind. I think a lot of sensitivity has to be created among our fraternity, among the general consumer, among the students in particular, that what is original and what is duplicate. A case like coriander. The Indian coriander is either dark green or some kind of a green. But now we have started using only golden coriander. So only golden coriander is presented by the market, and that comes with a lot of sulfur application. So ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for our hero, the chef, to take the center stage and transform the society, for which it is a very, very simple thing. He need not do anything great. He has to just understand the farmer. The farmer will then introduce him to the original nature. And if both chef and farmer agree that the farmer becomes confident in growing what is naturally grown in his area, and if the chef can make wonderful items out of it, the whole market will fall at the feet of chef. And I'm fully confident that this will happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pashupati. Your insights were very, very valuable. I'm sure it's already got everyone, thinking about the original varieties of chilies or coriander or tamarind, and I'm sure the conversation has already started. I just want to quickly come back to the chat session. Everyone who's here, all the students, please put all your questions, if you have anything, in the chat section or in the Q&A session. For any particular panelist, if you would like to ask any questions, you can ask them in the Q&A session after their session gets over. We're going to quickly head on to our next exciting panel discussion. Now, this is a session on the Chefs Manifesto, on the role of the chef in a global arena. How do you maintain sustainability? How do you get nutritious food? And how do you improve the health of the planet? So we've got Paul Newnham, who's the director of the SDG2 Advocacy Hub. He's going to be the moderator of the session. And on the panel, we've got Chef Arthur Potts-Dawson and Chef Mokgadi Itsweng. They're both going to be on the panel with Paul. I am not going to give an introduction to both the chefs, as I would like them to be speaking for themselves and giving their own introductions. So Paul, can you please switch on your video? Chef Arthur, can you start your video and
It's
your
okay.
mic?
Anahita, Anahita, what I'm going to do is thank you for this. I'm going to start with Chef Mokgadi, and then I'll bring in the others after. So we're gonna do this panel a little bit different because we want to deep dive a little bit with each of the chefs. So we're going to do a bit of a tour around the world.
Yes,
and so,
I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to leave this to you, and I will message you 2 minutes before your session is going to get over so that you can wrap up on time.
Perfect.
Thank
you. So it's really great to be here. And as Chef Anahita said, my name is Paul Newnham from the Chefs Manifesto. And what I've done today is, for this session, we're going to have a conversation with 3 different chefs in 3 different parts of the world. The Chefs Manifesto has chefs in 88 countries around the world now. And so we are really a global network. And one of the key things that we learn is how chefs face different issues in different parts of the world, and how yet the way they face them, we still also have similar things that we can learn from one another and ways we work together. And so I've got 3 chefs that we're going to be talking to today. And the first one is Chef Mokgadi from South Africa. So Chef Mokgadi, do you want to unmute yourself? And do you want to just give a quick introduction? I always like people to introduce themselves a little bit, because it helps to tell us a little bit about what they're proud of, where they are working. So Chef Mokgadi, tell me a little bit about where you are at the moment and your background as a chef.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really looking forward to the session. Hi, everyone. My name is Chef Mokgadi Itsweng. I'm a chef based in South Africa, in Johannesburg, South Africa. I am part of the Chefs Manifesto and have been for the last 2 years, I think. But I've been in the industry for the last 18 years.
Wow.
So I started off as a chef. Obviously, you know, I learned how to cook, and I came back and I worked in South Africa as a chef. And throughout my career, I've worked in the kitchen, but I've also worked in food media. So I've worked as a food editor for a few titles here in South Africa. So my whole idea has always been, as a food editor, to be an educator, to teach people new things, to teach people about new food trends, and to bring the knowledge that I was gaining as a food editor. So part of also another job that I've done in the food space is I had my own radio show. Again, it was a platform for me to teach people about our food as Africans. And so I've been an advocate and a change agent in that space for over 18 years. Wow. Right now, I'm a chef still working in South Africa during COVID times. It's very, very, very tricky, but we found ways to actually still keep working and still being an influence in the food space in South Africa. I do a few things that I do. I've got a pop-up event called The Plate with Chef Mokgadi, where we basically teach people about ways of eating, new ways of eating, that is sustainable, that is in line with the Eat Lancet report, the Planetary Plate. So we try and get people to open their minds up around food and sustainability. I also run a business where I work with local urban farmers and I create condiments from the produce, so I push them in that space. That's me in a nutshell.
No, that's awesome. And so when you found out about the Chefs Manifesto and the thematic areas, tell us a little bit about what that meant to you and the work that you were doing, and how did that kind of tie into the work that you're doing? Because obviously you've got 18 years of experience, you've been doing such amazing work.
Yeah.
Why did the Chefs Manifesto kind of connect with you and resonate?
Well, the Chefs Manifesto, for me, it's amazing that I got connected to them when I did, because I'd reached a point in my life where I'd been talking about certain things, but it was just something, it was my own research that I'd done, and I knew that this is where my soul and this is where we need to be as humans. So by the time I met up with the Chefs Manifesto, I was already on that road. So what they did then, what the Chefs Manifesto did for me is to actually give me a structured guide and say, these are the issues, these are the things that you're already talking about, but this is the research and the science behind it and the people behind it who can help push that message and enforce it. So for me, the Chef Manifesto became a big brother, a guide, so that whatever I was talking about and had been talking about now had a stronger voice, and a stronger voice coming from chefs. So my work in South Africa as a change agent, I do a lot of stuff that based on the 8 thematic themes of the Chefs Manifesto. So one of the themes that I push and promote is ingredients grown with respect for Earth and its oceans. I always advocate for local food grown organically without pesticides. And I also push SASI, which is South African Sustainable Seafood Initiative, which is an initiative that is in line with the WWF. And what that initiative does is that it teaches South Africans, South Africans, about the oceans and the fishes that are being overfished. Things that are sustainable. So you get 3 different lists. You get the red list, the green list, and the orange list.
Right.
So you know that as a South African, you want to eat from the green list. So they change the list every day and every week, because every day and every week, certain species are being eradicated. Certain species, we're losing certain species in the ocean. So the only way, as a chef and as a regular consumer of seafood, you can keep up with what's sustainable and what's not, is to follow SASSI and see what's on the green list. So I push a lot of that information. I also push and promote investments in livelihoods, which is thematic number 3, by buying directly from urban farmers. So I run a pop-up event, and now we're doing it in boxes, where we push the plate with Chef Mokgadi, where we push urban farmers. So we actually try and connect the urban farmers to other consumers. So we talk about them. I talk about them on all my social media platforms. I then push them in my pop-ups. I use local farmers and local urban organic farmers. I use them for my products, for my condiment business. So I'm constantly aware of their livelihoods. And I understand that it's a cycle. When we push the urban farmers, then their business do well, and they stay in business, and they're able to even produce more and effect that change that we need to see. I also push the theme number 5, which is celebration of local and seasonal food. So I only buy local food for my restaurants, for my food business. I only buy food that's produced locally. I try very hard not to buy imported anything. So even olive oils, I push the local industry, because in South Africa, fortunately, we've been blessed with good weather and lots of arable land. So South Africa produces a lot of its own food.
Wow.
So things like olive oil, we've got a whole industry in the Western Cape that's dedicated to olive oils, and all sorts of awesome olive oils that are coming. So I'll push the local brands. And I also I promote kitchen gardens and urban farming, making good food accessible to all. So another way that I push that is I'm involved in an initiative that called Ladles of Love, and it's an initiative that pushes kitchen gardens and school feeding projects and community feeding projects. So what they've done is that they kind of like push, try and get everyone to be involved and to support these local, these community kitchens that are feeding a lot of people who are right now very food insecure. And food insecurity during this pandemic has been real in South Africa.
Yeah.
So I work with this initiative, and I make sure that I'm their support. I guide them around what's healthy, what's sustainable, so that they then push it onto their kitchens. The kitchens grow their own gardens. We have people who are donating money for these gardens to happen, so that the kitchens are sustainable. They're able to sustain themselves even further on after the pandemic. They're able to have these gardens that can actually produce food and sustain them.
That's
so another thing
that keeps you very busy. It must be. I mean, I've seen some of these gardens, and I love that there's this integration that you've had between what you do and how you do it. And I think so there's a lot of thoughtfulness around how do you use the systems, how do you use the ingredients, and connect them through to what you're talking about, which is great.
Yes.
No, it's great.
No, definitely, because for us as chefs, we are the conduits. We, as the doctor said earlier, we are the superstars. We bring the ingredients that the farmers grow to life.
Yeah.
So it's also our responsibility as chefs to push and to advocate for healthy living.
Yes.
For everyone, because everybody, people will tell you good food is expensive. It's cheaper to eat the wrong things or to eat junk. But As a chef, I promote sustainability and I promote accessibility, because for me, it's one thing to talk about eating healthy and eating well and eating locally, but if those things are not accessible to the normal people on the streets, then what's the point of it?
I agree.
I see myself as a conduit for good food, and I we'll walk around, and with my social media, I'll say, okay, there's a vegetable that's on special here, go and buy it here, and this is what's happening. You're getting, because everyone complains about the cost of food, and it's so accessible. So I basically just show people another way of looking at food, instead of looking at through the lens of the supermarket, but of looking at as as food that's there, that you can access as a human being.
This is great, Mokgadi. I appreciate it. We're gonna have to keep moving. I'm gonna bring in Chef DK now, but this is like there's some people asking questions in the chat. They want to follow you on social, I think, and connect. So we'll continue the conversation. But let me bring in Chef DK. Thank you for dialing in from South Africa and sharing a bit of your story. It's absolutely great to have you, and there's so much knowledge, and so I hope you can stay with us and answer some questions in the chat as we go.
No, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to bring Chef DK, and then he's going to jump in. So Chef DK, do you want to turn your video on?
Absolutely.
Hi, Chef DK.
Hi.
So Chef DK, do you want to just introduce yourself? Where are you? And just tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we're going to dive in. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul, for the opportunity of joining you guys today, and always a pleasure to speak with you and amazing folks on here. I'm Chef DK. I run Restaurant Haoma, which is the only urban farm restaurant in Thailand. It's right in the heart of the city. We're 750 meters away from where the train stations meet, right in the center of Bangkok. And we conserve 200,000 liters of rainwater. We grow all of our fish on the premises of the restaurant. More than 40 different varieties of flora and fauna that are all used in the plate. And every time we do a new menu, we have 0 kilometer dishes, which are dishes that are made with produce that entirely grows in the restaurant, even though we are right in the heart of the city. And also every single dish, the taste is only defined by what we can grow on this little patch of soil in our restaurant using aquaponics farming.
Wow. So Chef DK, I mean, your restaurant is just amazing in so many ways, and it's been named one of the most sustainable in Asia in many different conversations and articles and things. And we got to know each other a little bit, and I haven't had the chance to eat at your restaurant yet, but I'm waiting for the pandemic to be over and we can actually travel again. But one of the things that we did manage to do some work around was recently you were able to go and visit a fortification factory, and you did some work.
That's correct.
As part of the pandemic, you started a food program in the restaurant to help address some of the needs. And you then were able to go and see this. So we've got a short video of your experience. Should we show the video, or do you want to tell us a little bit about it first? What's best?
Go ahead, show the video, and then we can talk more about it so people can get a glimpse of what we're doing out here.
Okay. Well, we'll run the video, Barbara, and then we'll jump across to Chef DK.
As a chef, my number one advice to getting through a crisis is to stay calm, be patient, and cook. Cooking nourishes your soul. I am Chef DK, Deepanker Khosla. I run a restaurant called Haoma, the most sustainable restaurant in Bangkok. I'm not just saying it, you can go look it up. My main objective in cooking for anyone is basically 2 things. I cook for the food to be delicious and to make it nutritious. No matter which part of the world you were born in, which caste, creed, sex, or religion, does not matter. Our bodies need to be nourished to be able to keep going. Malnutrition is one of the biggest problems in the world right now. Rice is eaten across the world, like West Africa or Southeast Asia, and Thailand is one of the largest exporters of rice to those places. Carbohydrate is being provided through the rice, but what about the nutrition? What about the vitamins, minerals, and other micronutrients that are essential for the body to function day to day? Today I'm off to the fortification factory to find out why fortified rice is one of the most cost-effective and efficient way of increasing the nutrient value of peoples across the globe. Hey, good to see you, man. Nice to meet you. How are you today? Ben, thank you so much for showing me around. This is amazing. And what I really want to know is why fortification?
Yeah. No, rice fortification is a real game changer, right? It's really there to help fight hidden hunger.
Right.
So people eat a lot of food on a daily basis, staple foods, right? So they do get the calories most of the time. But it doesn't mean that they also get the micronutrients they need. So
that's correct.
Fortifying the staple foods that they eat can really help fight hidden hunger.
That is amazing. And this is the answer to malnutrition globally.
Absolutely. 1/3 of the world eats rice on a daily basis. So rice fortification is a real game changer.
What is that there?
So this is the vitamin and mineral premix, the micronutrient premix. We research which parts of the population need what kind of micronutrients.
Okay.
We adjust the formulation as such. So in this micronutrient powder gets blended with the broken rice powder.
Yeah.
And it comes out looking exactly like this.
So not only is the product so cost efficient and so quick to make and nutritionally so high, it is also custom and tailor-made to populations.
Yeah.
This is amazing. This is mind-blowing.
So welcome to the lab.
Thank you.
So we can add a whole range of micronutrients.
Yes.
If you look at the minerals, we can add iron.
Right.
If you look at the vitamins, folic acid, really important for pregnancy.
Right.
And then we have vitamin A.
Yeah.
We can add B vitamins. Right.
Right.
So it's really dependent on what the population needs. Our rice gets blended 1 to 2% with the final product.
Yeah.
And hence the consumer is going to eat rice which is 99% normal rice.
So just 1% gives them everything that they need.
Exactly.
Amazing. It's quick, it's cost effective, it's highly nutritious. Then why does the world not know about this bit?
No, you're exactly right. It's astonishing to see that only 1% of the world's rice is fortified.
Yeah.
And yet everywhere where people eat rice is the prevalence of hidden hunger.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer that we should do something about this.
1%, I must be missing something here. Does it taste bad?
No, actually, there's no taste change. But you're the chef. Maybe you can.
I'm going to take some back and I'm going to let you know how that goes.
Exactly.
Okay, lovely. Just got back from the fortification factory and it's been a real eye-opener. I didn't know that fortificated rice was so nutritious, and yet less than 1% of the world really knows about it. Now let's see how it holds up in the kitchen, eh? I'm going to experiment with fortified rice. Not only cooking high-end dishes in my restaurant, but also for the No One Hungry program, where we cook hundreds of meals every day and give out to those who need. It's going to definitely create an impact because it's highly nutritious and it can help better lives. Let's see what the guests think about this. There is no reason why fortified rice should not be cooked in the best kitchens in the world. It can't harm and it can increase the nutrition value, so why not, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara and Chef DK. So this video, I suppose, tells us a bit of a story. And one of the thematic areas for the Chefs Manifesto is nutritious food that's accessible and affordable for all. And you've, during COVID, run the No Child Hungry.
No One Hungry program.
No One Hungry program. And then you also are running a fine dining restaurant. And then you have connected to fortified rice. And so just tell us a little bit about what, as a chef, you know, there seemed to be some science going on. What was your feeling about the product? How did it work? What happened in that experience?
Paul, the fortification is basically a process of redefining the granules of rice and basically passing it through a pasta extruder and incorporating everything that the masses need. So that's something that I had touched upon earlier. I'm telling you again. I'm working with 7-Eleven, for example, and say the state of Chiang Mai, the province of Chiang Mai has a large deficit of vitamin B. So I will be making a dish that would have rice that is enriched with vitamin B. And for example, the state of Pathum Thani in Thailand has a lot of folic acid deficit, and thus the young children that are being born have some kind of deficiencies. So we are going to be creating dishes that are fortified with, say, a biryani that is cooked with fortified rice, and that is going to be given out to the masses, accessible at 29 and 39 baht at a 7-Eleven, creating the first 100% nutritious diets at a 7-Eleven that will be served at 13,000 outlets across the globe for people who want affordable nutrition. And fine dining is, yes, a part of it. And then I think to be able to reach out to a lot more people, to be able to actually create fine dining food that is highly nutritious for the masses. Also, people who are coming to the restaurants, they deserve good nutrition, not just delicious taste in the mouth based on fats and saturates. So I think collectively, this program will help millions of people, and joining hands with 7-Eleven was the right channel for us to reach out to millions of people who have, say, the ability of spending less than $3 a day. They can get 3 highly nutritious meals. It's $1 a meal.
Wow.
So that it would definitely, my vision with the No One Hungry was to uplift the nutrition of the society, feed those who are hungry. And by doing this, now you don't need to walk into a 7-Eleven and pick yourself convenience fast food. You could pick yourself a convenience fast nutritious food. Wow. And my vision is to actually pitch to them to turn all food into this. Even why can't we make a burger bun with fortified wheat, for example?
Yeah.
Why can't sushi be made with fortified rice? Because it's just 1% going into whichever rice variety you're using. And trust me when I say, with 12 years of cooking experience, it does not modify the taste and texture of your rice. So It's basically adding a spoon of protein powder to your blueberry smoothie. It still tastes like blueberry smoothie, but it's enriched with proteins. So that is something that I think would all of the chefs on this channel, everybody who is joining us today, should actually look at it. India has a very strong fortification program being run out of Pusa. The US and Europe have a strong fortification wheat program, and all the chefs here should be able to look at how they can incorporate it into their own menus, how this can be incorporated into any welfare programs that are doing, so that masses can be helped at large.
This is amazing. Thank you, Chef DK. And I'd encourage you, we've dropped the video in there, so please take a look at the video. We can maybe have a further conversation with you, Chef DK, on another session of the manifesto. But this is an amazing program, and it's great to see. So thank you for taking some time out of lunch service, I'm guessing, at the moment.
The food's going to be in 7-Elevens from April, so you can grab some in Australia.
Wow, amazing. I can't wait. This is great. Right. Okay, well, thanks, Chef DK. I'm going to welcome now Chef Arthur Potts-Dawson. Chef Arthur, I hope you're there. Hi, Chef Arthur. How are you?
Hey, Paul. Good to see you.
Early morning for you. What's the time in London? It's 9 o'clock?
9:30.
9:30, okay.
I'm just waiting for this conversation to finish.
Okay, no dramas. Well, look, Chef Arthur, you've been involved heavily in the Chef Manifesto right from the beginning. You have an amazing career working in some of the top restaurants around the world, training with some of the top chefs in the world. Can you share a little bit about your work around the Chef's Manifesto and also your wider work in the UK? Just tell us, give us a little bit of a snapshot of your background and why the Chef's Manifesto.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm a chef. I've been cooking for 35 years now. I've worked with some of the finest chefs all over the world. I've also opened some amazing restaurants across Europe and in London. And for the past 18 years or so, I've been looking at the sustainability, the ethics and resilience of food and restaurants. I was opening restaurants for Jamie Oliver, and at the time we just weren't able to do anything that was sustainable. So I kind of broke away and said, okay, this is how we should be doing it. And so, you know, food is really created through observation from me, the opportunity to look at, you know, the ethics of food and the sustainability, the sustainable nature of food, and how chefs connect to farmers and how farmers really need to be able to tell their story on the plate that the chef uses to sell to the customer. So it was very much about the thread of, you know, food out of the ground, food onto the plate, talking to the customer. And as soon as you start to look at all those connections, you realize that food connects people to the planet, and through that connection, they get either healthy or unhealthy. And so very much, just talking about fortification of foods and rices, understanding what food does for you and the planet is essential for this planet to move forward and remain healthy or actually be healed, because so much of the agricultural systems of this planet are destroying the actual healthy nature of our world. So 35 years of food, and in that I've worked with some of the biggest companies in the world around food. I've worked with the Unilevers, the IKEAs, been looking at Kellogg's with Chefs Manifesto, and a lot of the thinking around how to deliver the messaging for the Chefs Manifesto is grounded in how do we get very complex conversations about food. Where's it from? How do we deliver it? What are the ramifications on companies and petrol and water and immigration and migrant workers? Food is just so deep and rich in narratives that it can be quite daunting and confusing. And so the Chefs Manifesto was just the most amazing way of simplifying and discussing, I'm a chef. This is what I could do in my business and my life, and with how I connect with people. This is how I can communicate out the ideas of sustainability, resilience, and I guess really health and well-being of people, because food really is just that. You consume to be healthy, and if you don't consume to be healthy, then there's some big questions you need to be asking yourself. I suppose I was classically trained. I've been all over the world, like I said. I've worked with the Root Brothers. I've worked with the cafe. I've been Jamie Oliver's executive chef. I've done all those sorts of things, and my own restaurants, supermarkets, juice companies. I'm executive chef at the moment on Bay Gardens, which is the London action hub for the Chefs Manifesto. I'm the advocacy chef for the World Food Programme. I have created a radio station called Food FM. Listen in soon. Food FM is on the radio waves. I work as a consultant chef. I work with a lot of celebrities. Food has created me. Food is, I basically am just food. And I love using the Chefs Manifesto as a way, as a communicating tool to talk to other chefs. I think so much of this idea that, 20 years ago, chefs, everyone was secret, everyone had their own recipes, everybody was communicating with the supply chain, but no one was telling their stories. Now it's all about communication. It's all about chefs for chefs for chefs. Let's talk to each other. Let's work with each other. Let's make this place a better place for us all to work in, especially during these COVID times. And one of the things that's been really interesting, and I'll stop talking, and one of the things really interesting is this generation now is the first generation to really communicate their values through food. And social media is this platform in which so many people feel, look at the meal I'm eating, look what I'm doing, look where I am, look who I am, look what I'm doing, food. And food is basically how people identify with themselves and with other people. And chefs are kind of this conduit for communicating people's values and people's cultures. And it's fabulous to see Chef Mokgadi and Chef DK and Chef Anahita and all the chefs, all of you. So it's fabulous to see it all online and working so hard to look at resilience and the ethics and sustainability and what the future of food needs to be, because we've got 10 years. And if we can turn this food system on this planet around in 10 years, then we will have been successful.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, you talked a little bit about some of the advocacy and the importance of advocacy. We're gonna be moving into more conversation shortly, but just what would you say to young chefs just around how advocacy can be tied into their narrative, can be a part of the way they're communicating? What would you say they should be really thinking about, particularly for the younger chefs, the students that are out there that are just starting?
Yeah, advocacy has helped me to refine and get to a point where I really understand what the message is that I have to tell. Everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody's got an experience, and everybody's identity is wrapped up in the food and the style in which they live their lives. And to find a position of advocacy, whether it's with the World Food Programme or the World Health Organization or the IFAD or the FAO or with local charities or Christian Aid or anything, advocating for a better world is a fabulous way of looking into yourself to say, what is the message that I want to leave behind through my career and through my personal involvement with food and profession, because it's very much a personal thing. So I've been very lucky to be working with the World Food Programme as an advocacy chef, but I'm also advocating with the Chefs Manifesto. So advocacy is a really powerful tool to allow you to not just talk about carrots and peppers and onions and spices, because that's all building blocks of a dish. But what does that dish mean? Where does that dish go to tell people what it is you feel about the planet and yourself, the people that really mean something to you? So advocacy is very important. And I think that the more young chefs that understand advocacy and telling people the reasons why we need to be eating more healthily, looking after the planet, looking after the forests and the spiritual aspects of the planet. You know, we need a kind of army of advocates who can stand up and say, hey, look, stop doing these types of things to the planet. We want to inherit a planet that is going to be healthy for the future generations to come.
Yeah. No, thank you, Chef Arthur. I'll let you go and get some food. I know food is important, and we've kept you from breakfast, but this is really, really helpful. And I think there's lots of people I can see in the questions and comments asking how to get in touch, how to connect, asking about different issues. Chef Arthur is obviously on all the socials. He's also leading this Food FM, this new conversation platform that's a radio station online. And he's also the lead for the Chefs Manifesto Action Hub in London. And so that's at Onvet Gardens, and they are hosting events. So chefs might want to join some of those events, and we'll make sure if you follow Chefs Manifesto on Instagram, you follow some of the chefs, we'll be able to keep in touch and continue these conversations. So I want to say thank you, Chef Arthur. The program is full.
Just to let you know, we are hosting.
Sorry, go again, Arthur.
Yeah, well, we're going to be hosting the Action Hub in London in March. So anybody on here is most welcome to join in and listen in and contribute. We're always leaning into the Indian chefs. I'm sure Radhika or Anahita will be asking you to get involved. But yeah, Chefs Manifesto is you know, it's a global opportunity for chefs to talk to each other. So you know, I really look forward to welcoming anyone from here to Chefs Manifesto London.
Perfect. Thanks, Chef Arthur. And I'm going to, after that, I just want to thank our three chefs that came in, and I'm going to hand back to Chef Anahita. We have so much information, but I know the program needs to go on. So handing over to you, Chef Anahita.
Thank you so much, Paul. It was such an insightful session. Our chat box has got so many questions. Our Q&A sessions also want to connect with all the chefs. I just want to say thank you to Chef Arthur Potts-Dawson. I know it's early in the morning in London. Thank you for taking out time. Chef DK, middle of service, he was there. And Chef Mokgadi, thank you so much for taking out time and speaking to our audience. Our students, panelists, attendees, all are full of ideas right now. So let's get on to our next panel. I just want to introduce you to the panel. This panel discussion is tied to the Chefs Manifesto thematic area. The topic that we're going to be discussing is plant-based protein or vegetarian protein in India. When I think of vegetarian protein, my mind starts working like at 200 kilometers per hour, because in India, we've got so much plant-based protein, but I am not going to tell you more about it. I am going to hand over to Chef Vanshika Bhatia. She is the chef at Together at 12. She's also a person who I have known for many, many years as we worked and studied at Le Cordon Bleu at London together. And she's been running this fantastic restaurant called Together at 12. I am going to tell her to switch on her camera and her mic, and I'm going to hand it over to her to start her panel discussion and give an introduction to all the other panelists. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Anahita, for the introduction. And thank you, Chef Gill, Paul, team Chefs Manifesto, Chef Dr. Soundararajan, and Radhika. for holding and organizing this amazing session. It's always lovely to meet people from the industry and everybody from the agriculture, food business, and hospitality business. I am honored to host this panel with very esteemed panelists. There are a lot of doctors and a chef in the panel, and I want the panelists to introduce themselves, and then I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask them. So, Ms. Meenakshi Bajaj, are you online?
Yes, I'm happy to be honored and invited by Chef Sounder sir as well as Chef Manifesto. It's an amazing experience to hear so much of nutrition in and around taste and catering. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I just want you to tell a little bit about yourself and how one can change their diets to a protein-based diet. And I read somewhere that even if they change 5% of their diet from meat-based to plant-based, it will affect their health positively by 23%. What do you have to say about that? Please go ahead.
I'm Meenakshi Bajaj, working for the Tamil Nadu government Tamil Nadu government multi-super specialty hospital as a dietitian. I'm in this industry for about 27 years, and I've got connected to the chefs industry for the past 2 years through NetProfan, which is a network of professionals of food and nutrition. And I would say that I'm a non-vegetarian, but always had a mental block to try vegetarian food in a restaurant. I would choose to eat non-vegetarian food in a restaurant. But recently I had an opportunity to dine in Chef Sounder sir's restaurant, and it's a purely vegetarian restaurant. Believe me, it's changed my mindset and it's motivated me to go vegetarian. Now, the whole thing is, why do we go vegetarian? One needs to know that we have, not because Kamala Harris tells us that we need to go vegetarian and it's climate friendly, but we have more than 107 scientists around the world telling us that if you go in for a non-vegetarian meal, the carbon emission is very, very high. Going vegetarian reduces the environmental carbon footprint. For example, if you choose on a burger, as simple as a burger, the bun would give you about 50 grams of carbon, the salad would give you about 10 grams, condiments would give you about 80 grams, cheese would give you 250 grams, beef would give you 1910 grams of carbon emission. So a cheeseburger would give you as high as 2500 grams, a vegetable burger will give you 1500 grams. So in toto, if you're going to choose a vegetarian burger without the beef in it, it's going to give you only about 1000 grams of carbon emission. So that's one reason. Is that one reason enough for us to go vegetarian? No. I think if yesterday's paper in Chennai, if anybody had gone through, you would have read that the CSIR report mentioned very clearly that if you go vegetarian and if you're having a blood group of, other than O and AB and A, along with alcoholism and smoking, if you're going to quit all of this and going to quit non-vegetarian food, you're going to be at a lesser risk of developing COVID-19. Not only that, we have a host of other benefits when one goes vegetarian. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics recently in the 2016 very clearly published the fact that vegetarian diet in a balanced form without any nutritional deficiency. The whole thing depends on what permutation and combination you use. And obviously, everybody is very worried that when you go vegetarian, are you going protein deficient? Believe me, there are several methods wherein one is complementing proteins. Like you have the cereals and the pulses. One of them is deficient in the lysine. The pulses are deficient in methionine. When you take it in the ratio of 3:1, 4:1, like the typical traditional South Indian fermented traditional recipe like the idli or the dosa, you're complementing the amino acids which are missing in the cereals and the pulses, and it becomes a good quality complete protein. So that's not the only way. You have the soy, you have the quinoa, and these, especially the soy and the quinoa, are almost near a high biological value protein. We all know that milk and milk products as well as the eggs, the non-vegetarian foods, are complete good quality proteins. But believe me, I will tell you down the line that you can get hold of good quality protein even by going vegetarian. And as I've mentioned to you, there is enough of evidence to tell us that if you're going vegan, as Chef Vanchika very clearly told us, that there is a prevalence of diseases coming down when you go vegan or vegetarian. When you go vegan, the percentage of prevalence of diabetes is only 2.9%, whereas when you are non-vegetarian, it's 3 times, almost 7.6%. And not only that, obviously for weight reduction, for improving your lipid profile, as well as improving your glycemic control, that's your blood sugar control, as well as those patients who are already having diabetes. And you can prevent the complications associated with diabetes. Not only that, in fact, we have those patients who have kidney failure. We can reduce the progression of kidney failure by choosing on plant-based diets. And also when it comes to DASH eating, dietary approach to stop hypertension, when one chooses on being vegetarian and chooses on being not consuming the processed foods, which again is a source of sodium in it, also helps to improve the blood pressure and associated complications. Not only that, in the pediatric population, when you choose on soy-based foods, you can reduce the risk of breast cancer and prostate cancer as and when they grow up. Not only that, gut-brain axis, that's a very, very valuable connection. If today's date, that there is this COVID pandemic is there, not only COVID pandemic, when your gut is unhealthy or gut dysbiosis is present, it's the mother of non-communicable diseases. Not only the non-communicable diseases, in today's date, we are grappled with depression, with Alzheimer's, with Parkinson's disease, as well as a lot of gut-related issues like IBD, IBS, colorectal cancers. One forgets that when it comes to vegetarian food, you are choosing on high amount of micronutrients, polyphenols, antioxidants, magnesium, folic acid. We in fact had one of the chefs talking about folic acid supplementation to prevent neural tube defects, especially in pregnant women if they're going to choose on folic acid rich foods. So all that you need to ask for, and it's present in the vegetarian diet which one consumes. Now when it comes to the protein, if you're choosing on vegan, you're pulling out the dairy products. If you're still holding on to vegetarian diet, wherein at least about 300 ml of milk and milk products will give you as high as 10 grams of protein. And say about 90 grams of pulses will give you as high as 21 grams of protein. And I said if you choose on quinoa especially and the nutri cereals, you can make the protein also on the higher side. Not only that, it's also nutrient dense. And you cannot forget that even something like spinach can give you some amount of protein along with the omega-3 fatty acids, fiber, calcium, folic acid, iron, and all four you can ask for. Not only that, when it comes to athletes, people who are in the sports, they think, can we meet up the protein? Yes, definitely you can meet up the protein with soy, pea, hemp, rice. There are a lot of supplements which are available in the market along with ideal combination and permutation. And not only that, you need to remember that, for example, when you pick up on soy or when you pick up on nuts, if you don't do processing, sprouting, fermenting, you're having a lot of anti-nutritional factors which reduce the bioavailability of the nutrients present in these foods. Like soy, it's important to have it processed because otherwise it's goitrogenic, can lead to hemagglutination. Also, it interferes with spermatogenesis. So when you choose on what you're going to, include in your diet, from whether it's a vegan source or a vegetarian source, ideal preparation techniques are very, very important. Not only that, if you talk of nuts, for example, just give me a moment, I'm through with it. When it comes to nuts, remember that they need to be soaked overnight because you want the zinc to be bioavailable. This is very, very important. So choosing on the right cooking methods, complementing protein, and most important is B12. When you're going vegan and going off dairy products, remember you're at a risk of ischemic stroke. So you need to take B12 in the form of, algae like spirulina, chlorella. Otherwise, you're not only at risk of ischemic stroke, also of cancer of stomach. So it's important to choose on fortified foods which are missing in vitamin D, vitamin B12. And one needs to know that strategic planning, rightful cooking methods, complementary protein sources, and the magical hands of the chefs can create wonders in giving you a platter of vegetarian or vegan foods. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Meenakshi. This was an amazing insight. And I really believe that chefs, once they know about all of these benefits and what is the science behind why do we soak lentils, why do we throw away that water that we have soaked it in because it has anti-nutrients, and why do we need to wash them, and a lot of these different scientific details. And when we ferment our lentils or our rice for our dosa and what is the kind of benefit it gives to our gut health, it is very important to understand the science behind certain processes that we have been following since ages as Indians, but we just don't know the science behind it. So thank you so much for enlightening all of that for us. We will move on to Dr. Bhavna, and we will talk a little bit about the Ayurvedic studies and the dosha type of bodies. Dr. Bhavna, are you there? Dr. Bhavna? Okay, Anahita, if you have a contact for Dr. Bhavna, if you could contact her, and we will move on to Dr. Manoj.
Yeah, I'll just do
Dr.
that.
Manoj, are you present?
Just connect with Dr. Bhavna. Till then, you can connect with Dr. Manoj.
Dr. Manoj, are you present? Okay, moving on to Chef Gunjan Goyala. She is an amazing inspiration for a lot of the chefs and a lot of the female chefs in our country, and she is doing amazingly well for our Indian ingredients and biodiversity for a lot of years. Dr. Gunjan, are you present?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you very clearly. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Gunjan.
Thank you so much, Vanshika.
So many
So good
doctors
to know
here.
and see you young
Yes.
people working so hard. It's an inspiration for us now at this age when we see such young blood doing such good wonders. You know, really proud of you guys.
Yes. Thank you
Okay,
so
I'll
much.
start.
We really need to preserve our culture and our history. And please go ahead, let us know a little bit about yourself and what would you like to talk about today in plant-based protein.
Okay, starting it, I have a story to share. I remember joining the hotels in 1999 as a vegetarian chef. And when I started this, it was people would look at me and say, vegetarian food in a 5-star, how does that work? All you get is dal, paneer, chola. That's more than enough for us to go. Why do we need more? I said, there is so much more to vegetarian food, or what we now named it as plant-based diet. But in those times, it was when you go out to eat, it was more of a non-vegetarian cuisine that was highlighted. But I learned a lot during these times while I was working in the hotels. And I need to thank here to Carlo Petroni, the founder for Slow Food, with whom I've been associated for more than about 15 years now. And how the movement started and how it has reached all over the world. So slow food, which is the talking point for most of us in many forums. And I think it has spread so well that we need to take it up further and work on it. And that is what I would request everybody here, that please do look at it and do work for the point of working from slow food perspective. Just give me a moment, please. 1 second.
So Chef Gunjan is a part of the Slow Food Chefs Alliance India.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
and
back.
she will also, that is what she was referring to, and she will be a part of.
Okay, I'm
Yes,
as
slow
Ms.
food.
Bajaj had already said a lot on the plant-based diet. Here, I would like to add one more point. The important point here is to balance and to control. As she said, you know, when we are having a particular diet only from the vegetables, you know, definitely the amino acids are limited in from the vegetable diet than what you get from the animal protein. But the key word is here to balance. You must include everything in your diet from breakfast to lunch. Make it a point to have nuts, vegetables, legumes, and and also the colors. You see, all these put together They give you a balance to your diet, and of course it adds taste. Now taste is very important. Unless until there is taste, you don't enjoy that food. So to add that value is what you are looking at to make the combination permutations. You see, I'm not a dietitian, I am a chef. So I can only tell you that by making these combination permutations, you can make this food tasty. And unless and until the food is not tasty, the body is not going to absorb all the nutrients. It's very important to have the right percentage of nutrients and let the body absorb the nutrients. See, I'll tell you one small shlok from Rig Veda, which is our scriptures. Bina go rasam ko raso bhojanam, bina go rasam ke raso bhupitanam, bina go rasam ke raso panditanam, which says, without taste, food is useless. And what brings taste to the food is the dairy, is the milk. And here it means, here the Rig Veda indicates it is the fat in the food which is very important. That is what generates taste into the food. So without taste, the food is useless. Just like without land, in a land without a king, that land is useless. So these are the, see, if you go back to our scriptures, if you look at Rig Vedas or we look at Ayurveda, they all talk about milk. Milk is an essential part of Indian culture. When a child is born, the first food that the child is given mother's milk. And the child sustains on that mother's milk for the rest of 3 months. Earlier times, it was believed that the mother's milk would sustain the child for the next 6 months. But now as the science has advanced and the doctors have started prescribing to give the start with the dal soup or with the rice congee. Things like this are clear indication that milk is a complete food in itself. See, if you look at that's from the perspective of a dietitian, they say milk has vitamin and proteins and calcium. So you can have your vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin B1 and B12, which lets your body completely in conjuncture with nature for you to function and for you to have your daily life functioning. So milk is definitely considered as a very sacred food. If you see milk, we also offer the milk and the milk products to our deities. So how can you remove milk from our daily life? Which is very important. And I think it is not only culture, it is customary in so many religions that milk is a way of life. There are people who just would have a glass of milk and they feel they are satisfied. See, that gratification you get after having a cup of tea or milk is something which you cannot quantify. And I remember reading Indian scriptures during fasting. What they advise is to have milk and fruits. So if you're fasting, does not mean you have to torture your body. You have to give a complete nutrition. So if milk can give you that nutrition, there has to be some strength. There has to be some weight in terms of quantifying your body needs. So milk is a very important part, and I don't think anybody should remove milk from their diet. And all the milk related products like curd. Curd is so essential for our calcium intake. Even the doctors these days say you can remove certain other parts, but don't omit curd. Of course, there are ways of making curd, and every state, like India is such a diverse country with different geography, with different temperature, with different monsoon conditions all over pan-India, I should say. So they are having their preparations as per their geography, as per their state, and as per their culture. But you'll find milk and curd is nowhere out from anywhere. It will be a part of the Indian cuisine and very much required so. So I'm in complete belief that the Ayurveda says that milk is the foundation of any cuisine. I would like to
Yes.
add.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chef Gunjan.
Oh, thank you, Vanshika.
That
Thank you
is
so
a
much.
new perspective because as as you mentioned, we had a phone call earlier, and you mentioned that people have stopped talking about milk and they want to replace milk with soy milk, almond milk, and even hemp seed milk because it's believed that these plant-based milk can give you the same nutrition as milk. And but if we go back to our traditions, and as you mentioned, Rig Veda, it has a lot of mentions about milk and yogurt and all our traditions that have been brought down. If you talk about Lord Krishna or any of that, all of those traditions of consuming milk products
Correct.
and yogurt, especially yogurt because of the lactic acid, good for the gut health, good for our
Yes,
overall
you know, like
nutrition.
for daily requirement, milk is a very essential part of for our food. So be it your lunch, dinner, breakfast, and they say, you know, milk is the best way to have your serotonin. So it is advised that if you have a cup of milk before going to bed, it induces very good sleep. So all this is part of our culture. And when you're talking about soya milk and you're talking about, there is almond milk, there's soya milk, there's hemp milk, it is there. But to take that in replacing your natural milk is not what is advised. That, of course, is like soya milk is very high in protein. So if you're just planning to have a high protein diet, maybe soya milk can help you. But you definitely need the natural milk, which your body would need to function, maybe to lubricate. You know, your joints need certain lubrication. So milk, the dairy milk, will help you there. Because the body needs a certain percentage of fat, and body also needs a certain taste. So all this combined together, milk is very necessary.
Yes,
Of course,
definitely. Even even ghee is said to, if you're having any sort of joint issues or bone issues, we're always advised by our grandmothers and our great grandparents and our ancestors to have ghee in your diet, which is clarified butter, for the lubrication of your bones. And I
here I
definitely
would
agree with you that
like to add, it is really not a clarified butter. We need to correct here, Vanshika.
Yes.
This is ghee. Now there is no word like there are certain things like when you go for an Italian cuisine, there is no Indian word for it. So ghee has no other word for it. It's just ghee, and let it be ghee. I would like to say one thing, you know, when we talk about a particular cuisine, or when we say that this is what for example, I'm a Delhiite, and Delhi has a certain cuisine. So that cuisine needs to be maintained and not changed at all.
Sorry, did we lose Chef Gunjan?
Vanshika, we've got another 15 minutes for your panel. So if you can get the panelists on board.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Did we lose Chef Gunjan?
I can't see her on the panel, on the speaker panel. So you can continue with the other panelists.
Okay. Okay, sure. Moving on to Dr. Manoj. Dr. Manoj, I was referring to you earlier. Can you switch on your camera and speaker?
Sorry, I lost my connection. I lost you completely, Vanshika. So it's okay. I see the other panelist here. It's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
Absolutely okay.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Dr. Manoj Johar. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us. And I see you were very busy. You're in your doctor's uniform. And I will keep this short. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and about the food that is given to the patients in the hospital, and how plant-based food is it helpful for the recovery of the patients? Please tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Johar. I'm actually director of the plastic surgery program here in one of the corporate hospitals. but I am myself turned vegetarian now for a number of years. And I do get the opportunity to interact with a very varied spectrum of disease pattern, from chronic diseases to a lot of other skin, hair, and beauty and aging related issues during our normal course. And now there's enough scientific research coming forward to show that food, or some of the substances through food, are acting as what we call as endocrine disruptors. So they disrupt your endocrine system and your health system. And there is a direct linkage of what goes inside you and what diseases you come up with. Simple things like skin disorders, skin eruptions, acne, blemishes, skin pigmentation, early hair fall, hair thinning, lack of quality of the hair, shiny and brightness, plus incidence of diabetes. And our colleague from Chennai, she has already enumerated what are the other areas in how the food is affecting the disease pattern in the country. So having been on both sides of the fence, which is the non-vegetarian and vegetarian, what I can definitely say from my personal experience is that becoming a vegetarian definitely has lots of advantages, both in how you feel, how you think, and how your body also behaves. And I don't regret becoming a vegetarian. And my tastes has enhanced, and my energy levels have become better, and my body feels lighter and better. So there is a huge amount of merit in being vegetarian. Not only that, now even from children onwards, I think the introduction of foreign protein or a meat protein in the form of eggs or other non-vegetarian is being now deferred till almost about a year to 2 years, till they have become 1 or 2 years of age, because the incidence of allergies and food reactions is higher if you introduce protein or foreign protein earlier into the gut. So we have already heard about, our colleague again talk about the gut and mind axis, which is now showing that the kind of bacteria which inhabit the gut depends on the kind of food that one is in the habit of taking. And this bacteria affects simple disease, think conditions like depression and Alzheimer's and dementia and other neurological conditions moving forward. So I think there is a lot of merit in our ancient systems and traditions which say that healthy food leads to a healthy body and healthy mind. And the way, so, and now, so being on this side of the fence where we see the end result of what is being produced and what is being eaten, it is, and if we link the cause and effect relationship together, it's very clear that not only there are two definitive processes involved in finally what we end up consuming. So it's from the production stage, what is being produced in the farms, I think, with a lot of competition to increase productivity, etc., etc. There are multiple reasons why the quality of the food is changing with time. The quality of water is changing. Quality of air has already changed. Sunlight is not as bright in our town in Delhi as compared to local areas. So the basic 5 elements which constitute every human being are getting polluted and corrupted. And this same corruption is further exaggerated if our cooking practices are aligned to more of taste than nutrition and health. So what we end up is a cumulative factor, and the health is definitely getting related, affected by all that. Being vegetarian,
yes,
and then staying off the dairy products for the time being. Chef Gunjan has very vehemently encouraged the higher use of dairy products. But I would like to qualify that statement a bit. You cannot blindly take a dairy product. You need to be conscious of what kind of dairy product and what quality of milk you are consuming, because there is a huge amount of hormones and other endocrine disruptors which are going along with the milk into the body, and they are causing a directly increasing the proportion of certain disorders. So while there is merit in following our ancient traditions, I think we need to start contemporizing that and modernizing that and tweaking the concepts a bit to whatever modern situation is. So in terms of protein, yes. They are the building blocks of the body. And yes, the vegetarian foods are not complete in the kind of proteins they may have, and along with the other minor nutritious factors like minor elements and a few other things. But then that's where the merit or the advantage or the intelligence of our ancient recipes comes into the picture, because they sort of complement each other. Also, the bioavailability is different, and the net content of protein and other nutritious material in vegetarian food is different. So the trick definitely lies in the quality of the produce and in the kitchen as to what kind of combinations you come up with. But I don't think there is any argument or any thing that becoming vegetarian is not advantageous, and that it has a lot of preventive benefits rather than therapeutics.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj Johar. That was a very great insight coming from, yes, you said it correctly, that you are at the other end of the whole thing of production, consumption, and then what it results in your actual body, you're at the other end. And yes, what the cow, the buffalo is being fed, what kind of fodder it's being fed, results to what kind of quality of the milk products that you are consuming. So that needs to be taken care of very, very importantly. I do know of a couple of farmers who have their own cows, who feed the cows their fodder that they grow themselves in their farm. Like Sneh, who was the farmer yesterday on our panel, she has her own cows. She grows her own food for the cows as well. And the quality of milk products and goat milk that she provides to us is absolutely amazing. And she makes the cheese herself. So thank you so much for the insight. I just want to throw a question out there, maybe not for now because we're running late, but what do you think of rooftop urban gardens and urban agriculture on rooftops of hospitals for the consumption of the patients to grow more chemical-free produce for the hospital patients?
We already have a roof garden
question out there. Please feel free.
We already have a roof garden, but unfortunately, we are not able to feed all our patients at Tamil Nadu Government Multi-Super Specialty Hospital, Chennai. But we are not able to produce that much to feed all our patients. I think we are looking towards growing it in a larger way.
That's great. That's great. And if that is a great initiative, and I think you can influence a lot of other hospitals and schools maybe to do that, so that we can provide good quality, affordable and accessible food for all, good food for all. So I just wanted to touch that point a little bit before moving towards our last panelist for today, Dr. Madhu Kaithish. Dr. Madhu, are you online?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can't see you. If you could switch your camera on.
Yeah, but it's not connecting. 1 minute.
Okay, no worries. So, Dr. Madhu, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Siddha medicine and a little bit about yourself and about herbalism and use of herbs in our diet.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Madhu Kaithish. I'm a Siddha physician from Chennai. And so I'm extremely privileged to be a part of this session. And I personally thank Chef Soundararajan for giving me this opportunity. So I'm basically a Siddha physician. Many people here, I think, doesn't know what is Siddha. Siddha is a traditional medicine which belongs to Tamil Nadu. So it's more of like we use herbs for treating disease and patients. And I did a study on how herbs and astrology are connected, and I designed a food concept called Astro Food, and this was launched some few years back in Chennai. So it is like when you say your zodiac sign, I can tell what kind of food you have to consume. So that will be better for your health condition to keep yourself healthier. And can I get into the topic? Hello?
Yes, so we're talking about, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Dr. Madhu? Yes.
Yeah, I can
so
hear
we're
you.
talking about plant-based proteins. We're talking about plant-based proteins and how using herbs and other lentils and all of these other hemp seeds they're all plant-based and how they can help improve our diets and how are they good for the environment and for the soil, and how does our body react to converting from animal-based protein to plant-based protein.
Yeah. So when we talk about the proteins, we all know that proteins are the essential building blocks. As before the doctor was telling, it is a building blocks of our body, and it is main essential to repair our cells and to produce the new ones. So we get protein source from, we all know that, from animal proteins and the plant based. So there is always a saying that people believe that only the consumption through animal protein is going to make you healthier. We get more proteins from animal source, and when it comes to plant based proteins, there is a saying that it will be always an incomplete protein. But according to me, anything is not going to be complete if it is not taken with the right combination. So always when you consume a food or make a food, the combination is very, very important. So unless if it is not with the proper combination, then it's not going to be a complete food. So why do we need a combination? That also is a big question now. So if for example, when you take a fish, there is a saying that when you take a fish curry, don't take curd along with it, because it becomes a toxin like things. So when you add ghee, equal proportion of honey should not be added to the ghee. So if honey and ghee are mixed together, it is going to become toxin. Though we know ghee is good for health, honey is good for health, but if the combination, if the percentage differs, then it is going to be toxin. So in the same way, any food when we prepare, if it is not going to be in the right combination, then it is going to be only a finished food. So always in my patients also I say, whatever food now we are eating is maximum, we are eating only a finished food. We are not eating a complete food. There's a lot of difference between a finished food and complete food. So when you don't take a complete food, then naturally you're going to tend to get some malnutrition. So when it comes to plant-based protein, I like to comment on 3 stages. Hello, I'm audible?
Hello, yes, you are very much audible.
So I like to consume in 3 things, like what to consume, how to consume, and when to consume. So these 3 points, I think it is more essential. So as we all know, what to consume on plant-based proteins. So it's like a tofu, lentils, peanuts, everything, spirulina, almonds, potatoes, all varieties of beans. Those things are good in plant-based protein things. So the next important thing is how to consume. So this part I think it is more valuable, because many of us don't know how to make a food. When it is not made in a proper combination, or if the temperature is not maintained properly, then also the absorption is going to get affected. So unless otherwise the protein or the food which you consume is properly getting absorbed by your body, only then it is going to get the proper nourishment. So if the metabolism is not going to happen properly, then whatever rich source of protein you are consuming also, it's not, the body is not going to take it fully. So when it comes to how to consume, so for example, the dal varieties, when we use dal varieties, it is always better to add turmeric, asafoetida and garlic to that. If this 3 is not getting mixed to dal varieties, then it is not going to become a complete food. So this turmeric, asafoetida and garlic, we call like a 3 dosha balancing thing. So this 3 has to be added with garlic, and whenever you boil dal varieties, it is better to add few drops of castor oil during summer season, so that the absorption becomes easy. During winter, you add some sesame oil. So adding sesame oil and castor oil makes it a little lighter and makes the body to absorb and consume it very easily. The same way, when we use some sort of the other bean varieties or the chickpeas, other things, it is always better to soak in water. So this soaking in water is very important, because when you soak the seed varieties, it increases the nutritional value of that. So the nutritional value doesn't get affected, as well as increase the nutritional value. It helps for a better digestion. That is the main part. It helps for a better digestion, and it makes the food to get prepared easily. So the temperature, the boiling temperature is maintained, and the food is getting a complete thing. So these three is main important when we soak of dal varieties, that has to be soaked. So when we come to chickpea and those things, it has to be taken with the jaggery. So if chickpea is a good source of protein, but when you take chickpea on its own, it is going to increase your pitta of the body. When pitta gets increased, then other complications happen. So when you take chickpeas, add jaggery to that to maintain the temperature. As well as when you take some dry fruits, like when you consume almonds, you have to remove the skin and then only you have to consume almonds. And the same way, when you consume other dry fruits also, it has to be chewed completely till the bitter taste comes, and then it has to swallow. Without chewing completely, and if the bitter taste doesn't mix with the saliva, if you are going to consume the dry fruits, then the body is not going to get the full energy level. So these ways, there are different methods for each and every. Not only it's for protein based, it's for any food. The how you are going to consume it, that is the main thing. And when you talk about when to consume, I prefer telling when not to consume this protein based. So when you are dehydrated, so during that period, it is better to avoid consuming of proteins. When you feel like nauseating, when your stomach gets bloated, or when there is some loose stools and migraine headache, in those conditions also, it is always better not to consume protein diets. And finally, in my clinical experience, I have seen many patients. I don't prescribe spirulina based protein things for patients who have ulcer complaints, who have migraine like complaints. For those people, when you consume these things, it triggers the issues. So it's better to avoid for those peoples. And also for people who have ulcers, it is always better to reduce the intake of protein. And finally,
okay.
Finally,
Thank
before
you
ending,
so much. Yes.
so before ending, I will like to share only one point. See, from the Vedic science itself, they are told that how the 9 planets, we always case an Navadhaniyam. The Navadhaniyam is a rich source of protein. So they have connected all the each planets with one herbs. So that itself proves how our ancestors have valued the protein diet. So like I will correlate fastly. For sun, they are connected with wheat. For moon, for paddy. With Mars, the red gram. For Mercury, the green gram. With Jupiter, the chickpea. For Venus, it's field beans. And for Saturn, sesame. And for Neptune, black dal. And for Pluto, horse gram. So this shows the value how ancestors are given for protein-based, vegetarian protein-based diet. So finally, any diet when you consume, it should not affect your digestion, it should not affect your sleep, and it should not affect your bowel movements. If this is 3 is perfect, then it is going to be a healthy diet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madhu. That was amazing. All the knowledge that you shared with us. If it's not an issue, could you please type that last thing that you said, the whole connection of proteins with different astrological beings on the chat or on the Chefs Manifesto? Yes, thank you so much. All the esteemed panelists, we've learned a lot today about vegetarian protein and plant-based protein and how it is good for us to consume and good for the soil and good for the earth to consume. And just to conclude, I think we should really look back to our traditions here in India. We have absolutely amazing Aryan traditions that are there mentioned in our Vedas, and it's for the world to study their written scriptures. Please do give it a look. And for me personally, innovation equals to something that is old and your own new studies that you are learning and integrating from your knowledge and your travels. So please innovate, chefs, and learn from what you've heard today and include more plant-based protein in your menus and everybody else in your diets. Thank you so much for having me and all
Thank
the
you.
amazing panelists.
Thank you so much, Vanshika, and thank you for moderating this panel. This was such a heavy panel discussion, and I'm sure that we can do a webinar only on plant-based proteins. It's really got everyone thinking, because the kind of knowledge that came from Dr. Madhu, from Dr. Johar, from Miss Meenakshi Bajaj, and obviously from Chef Gunjan Goira. Just so much information for all the students, for all the panelists, and even I have learned so much right now. So thank you for moderating it, Vanshika. We are running about 15 minutes late. This is just for all the students and the panelists. We are going to head quickly into our next session. Our next session is going to be a cooking demonstration, and it is by Chef Megha Kohli. Just a quick introduction. I've known Megha for the last the last 10 years, and she has an experience of 13 years. She's been the Time Chef of the Year in 2020. She's run an amazing restaurant called Lavash by Sabi, and she's always up to creating new recipes with Indian grains and been a part of the Chefs Manifesto. So I want to welcome you, Chef Megha. Are you here?
Hi, Anahita. Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for the introduction, and a big thank you to IFCA, to you, Anahita, and to Paul and the Chefs Manifesto for organizing the India session. And I'm really looking forward to this demo.
Thank you so much. So you're in your kitchen. I can see that you're wearing your chef coat and with the IFCA logo and all the badges of honor. So thank you for taking out time, and just quickly tell us what are you making, and I'm going to sign off and leave this session to you.
So, in tandem with the Chef's Manifesto thematic areas of promoting biodiversity and using local and seasonal ingredients, I'll be showing a dish of Uttarakhand, which is a state in the northern part of India. It has a very unexplored cuisine, and they, like all Indian states, rely heavily on the ingredients that are grown in their state, and they have a very rich biodiversity. And I'm going to be making a buras kheer with millets, with jhangora, which is barnyard millet that grows in Uttarakhand, and buras is the juice of the rhododendron flower that grows in Uttarakhand in this season. So,
okay,
yeah.
Great. So everyone who's here, Chef Megha Kohli is going to be teaching us a recipe. If you're students and you'd like to learn the recipe, please get your pen and paper out. Also, if you'd like to share this session with anyone who's not being able to log in, they can also watch it on our Facebook page. And if you have any questions for any panelists, please leave it in the Q&A section and the panelists will get back. So I'm handing this over to you, Chef Megha, and looking forward to an excellent recipe.
Thank you, Anahita. So, hi everyone, I'm Megha, and I'm a chef in New Delhi. I'll be making a buras kheer, and to save some time, I have already got the milk to a boil. What I will be using in this kheer is millets known as jhangora millets. So, barnyard millet or jhangora millet that grows freely in Uttarakhand. Millets are extremely good for health. They're very good for the soil. They're very good for the planet. They're one of the oldest foods that are known to mankind. They're easy to digest, are gluten-free. They're very nutritious. They're non-acidic. And they are the most digestible grain that is available. They're very good for soil health and also for conserving water, because they use 80% less water than what a normal crop of wheat or sugarcane or any other crop would use. They use 80% lesser water than that. And they also help in retaining water. So since they retain water, they end up maintaining the soil structure and conserving water. So they can grow in dry and arid climates as well. I'll be using buran's juice or buran's extract, which is the juice or extract of the rhododendron flower. I got this from Uttarakhand. This will end up giving a lot of sweetness to the kheer. Kheer, for as most of you would know, is like an Indian porridge, an Indian sweet dish. It's also eaten for breakfast. And in cold winters like these, it's very warming to the body. So first, I'm just going to get the milk to a boil. It's already come to a boil. I'm going to wait for another minute. I'm not going to be using any sugar in this dish. because the burars itself is sweet, and I shall be using some honey, which is honey which is 100% pure, and this is also from Uttarakhand. A friend of mine who's also a chef, Chef Pawan Bish, got this for me from his farm, from where he harvested this honey. And just in case it requires a little more sweetness and some earthy texture, as a chef, I love using gur. Gur is Indian jaggery, made from sugarcane. It can also be made from coconut or from date palm. It's one of my favorite ingredients as a chef. Even in my restaurant, all of my desserts didn't have any sugar, but they were flavored with nolen gur, which is date palm jaggery. This is sugarcane jaggery, which I will be using. So now we'll just zoom in a little. So here, as you can see, the milk has come to a boil. And now I'm going to add the millets to this. So this is 1 liter of milk, and I shall be adding around 80 to 100 grams of millet to this milk. And I'm going to cook it till the time that the millets cook. I will not be adding any sugar, anything sweet till the time the millets cook, so that when you add sugar, it reduces the process of the grain that you're cooking. It makes the grain cook slowly. So which is why I'm not going to add any sugar right now. I'm also going to add 2 pinches of cardamom powder, which will again enhance the flavor of the kheer. Cardamom powder also I'm adding right now so that the flavor ends up infusing into the milk. Cardamom again is a spice that is warm, and it ends up giving warmth to the body. Burans is also very, very good for your health. It is prevents diseases of the kidney, of the heart, and also it's very good for skin. It reduces your blood pressure, it reduces bad cholesterol. And since the times of Ayurveda, we have been using burans leaves and flowers to treat arthritis, inflammation, and even bronchitis. Let me just have a look at this. I shall be posting the recipe for this on my Instagram as well as in the Chefs Manifesto group. So you can check out the exact quantities over there. Main thing you need to remember is 1 liter of milk and 80 grams of millets. And sugar you can add according to you. We'll have to keep stirring the milk so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. And I'm cooking this on high flame. Honey is also a very, very good antioxidant. Also for gur, I wanted to say that it really builds your immunity and it flushes out toxins from your body. It has a lot of antioxidants, which is why it provides immunity against many diseases and builds resistance in the body. So even when COVID started, we were advised to have gur every day for breakfast. Also, or before sleeping, having gur with some milk. And also when Delhi gets really polluted post Diwali, when the crop burning starts, at that time also everyone advises people to consume gur in their meals with either with your parathas or with milk or in your tea, because it ends up flushing out toxins from your body and is also very good for building immunity. I'm making this with barnyard millet, but you can make it with any other millet that you like. You can use kodo millet, or you can use any other millet. You can also use a different kind of rice apart from white rice or basmati. You can use red rice, you can use black rice. So it's just making a kheer. In Northeast, a lot of people use black rice to make their kheer, which again gives the kheer a beautiful purple color. So you can use any grain that you would like.
Chef Megha, I'm just going to jump in and ask you a couple of questions. So if you can, I think this will be very insightful for the students while the kheer is getting boiled. You can just tell the students about your experience with the Chefs Manifesto team. What is it that they can learn and how is it that they can grow as chefs with the community? You can just talk a little bit about that.
So I was introduced to the Chefs Manifesto by Anahita around 3 years ago, and post that I have represented the Chefs Manifesto at the Eat Forum and in Rome as well. I think the first thing that I did when I was introduced to the manifesto was that I connected my team to the Chefs Manifesto. I made them watch videos that were up on the Chefs Manifesto website. I made them follow Chefs Manifesto on Instagram, because my policy in running Lavash was that we were one of the first restaurants to promote local, 100% local ingredients menu. And I felt that the team should know why we are using local ingredients, why we have seasonal menus, and why we talk about or promote lesser known ingredients in our menu. And the Chefs Manifesto, the manifesto has been download on your computer, the entire manifesto docket. It kind of really helped my team to understand what we were doing and why we were doing what we were like the kind of dishes that we were doing, or why we were promoting biodiversity, why we were promoting a local and seasonal menu, which in turn really helped me as a head chef to connect with my team and for my team to come up with more ideas, since they understood the philosophy of what we were doing. It also, I think as students, it will help you really see what around the world are doing. So this is like a one-stop platform where you can see recipes from other chefs, you can see posts from other chefs, you can see like if you're passionate about using local and seasonal produce, you can see how chefs across the world are using produce that is local and seasonal to them to create something on their menu. If you're passionate about food wastage, then you can follow different chefs and connect with them. If you're passionate about promoting biodiversity, you can just get very, very inspired by just logging into the Chefs Manifesto Instagram or website. And everyone's very active on the Chefs Manifesto. Every day there is some post or the other. There's some interview with some chef or the other. So I think it's a great building.
Do you think it's impacted your cooking in any way, joining the manifesto?
Yes, it has. I think one of the biggest impacts that that the Chefs Manifesto had on me was when I went for the Eat Forum and I saw the launch of the Future 50 Food report by NOR and WWF. And in those 50 foods, I realized that a majority of the 50 ingredients that they were talking about in that global report were Indian or were found in India or were native to India. And I realized that we as Indians know very less about these ingredients, or we know a boring preparation that is made at home and we don't really know any other way to use it. So when I came back, I started a Future 50 Foods campaign in my restaurant, which ran for 2 years, where every month we would promote 2 ingredients from the Future 50 Foods report, and we would share recipes on our Instagram, and we would also feature dishes on of those foods on our menu. And I think it really helped me as a chef also. It really challenged me to come up with new dishes and new ideas to showcase on my menu. But like funnily enough, like most of my team members who come from different states knew about one ingredient or the other, and they would tell me how to use it. So it became like a team bonding session, and where we really exchanged thoughts and ideas as well.
Great. That's great to know. And how is the kheer progressing?
I'm just going to check if the millet has got cooked or not. Yeah, so I think another 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and we should be done.
Great. So I think we'll just leave you with one more question while the millets are getting cooked. So when you were reading about the Future 50 Foods, a lot of people must be wanting to know that what is the Future 50 Foods campaign. So if you can just tell them a little bit about that, and maybe tell us your top 5 ingredients that you love cooking with.
I can't hear you, Anahita. Someone else started talking, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. If all the other panelists can just put their mics on mute. So Megha, your question was that if you can just tell everyone a little bit about your Future 50 Foods campaign and what is it, because a lot of students, a lot of people on this webinar might not know about it. And if you can tell us your top 5 ingredients that you like to work with.
Top 5 Future 50 foods or top 5 ingredients?
Any ingredients from Indian ingredients.
I love working with sweet potato, with hemp, which is bhang ke beej. I love working with nolen gur, which is date palm jaggery. I love working with coconut, which is one of my favorite ingredients. And I love working, there's actually with Malabar spinach. I love working with koi saag as well. So these are my top 5 ingredients. The Future 50 Foods report is what I'll first tell people what it is. It's an initiative by NOR, Unilever and WWF, where they have done heavy duty research, and they have launched 50 ingredients. They've basically spoken about 50 ingredients which are good for your health, for the human health, as well as for the health of the planet. So that is what the report is about. If you go on their website, you can also download their cookbook, which in which many chefs from across the world have shared recipes with the 50 ingredients that are very good for our planet and for our health. My campaign was basically talking about 2 ingredients, doing workshops using the 2 ingredients. Every month I would talk about 2 different ingredients. I would do workshops with 2 different ingredients. And if you would order a Future 50 food dish from my menu, you would also get a recipe card that had the entire recipe for that dish that you had ordered written on it, because it was not a permanent dish on the menu. It was just available for that particular month. So that is what my Future 50 Foods campaign was. Also, sorry, the kheer has, the milk have cooked. So now I'm just going to turn off the heat and I'm going to add the buras juice.
So for people who don't know what buras juice is, can you explain the flavor and the texture? If it's sweet, if it's salty, sour.
Sweet. But it's sweet, but actually it's not too sweet on the palate. So it's got a beautiful balanced sweetness in it. It's the juice of the rhododendron flower. I've just added some almonds and raisins and cashews to the kheer, because as Indians we love nuts in our kheer. And this is this tree grows in Uttarakhand from the month of March onwards. But I just wanted to share that I was in Uttarakhand last week, and the locals showed me rhododendron trees that were like fully flowering in Jan. And they said it's a result of global warming, and it's the first time in their lives that they have seen rhododendron trees blossoming before mid of March. So that's the kind of impact that global warming is having even in the hills. And so the locals use the leaves to make lep and to make balms for joint pains, for headaches, and for skin-related diseases. And the flowers are used in cooking. You can use the flowers in making, they use it in making a buranj ka sharbat also. So yeah, now I'm just quickly going to taste this once to see. I think it can do with some sugar, so I'm going to add some pahari honey to it. And now I'm just going to plate it up. So as you can, I also think it can do with some more buras. So you can see it has a beautiful pinkish color. And this kheer can be eaten hot or it can be eaten cold. Depends on you. We used to serve it cold in the summer months and hot in the winter months. I'll just plate it and turn my phone. Sorry. Once it becomes cold, it will thicken even more. And I'm just plating it with some nuts on top. I'm a little.
So if you had some fresh flowers, you could have also put some fresh flowers, right? The rhododendron.
Fresh flowers. You can put seasonal fruits if you want fruits in your kheer, like bananas or anything, any other fruit that you would like to add to it. You can add to it. So this is the buras kheer, and we're done.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Chef Megha, for quickly doing this demonstration for us in 20 minutes. There are some questions in the chat box. So once the session is over, you can answer the questions in the Q&A. And if you have any questions regarding the recipe, please feel free to add it in the chat box. Thank you again, Chef Megha, for taking out time and teaching us about two ingredients that a lot of us wouldn't have tried at home. They are seasonal, they are local, and most importantly, they're Indian, and they make us so proud. So thank you. And we are going to get on to our next, presentation. So the presentation is on small grains. Obviously, it's connected to Chef Megha Kohli's recipe because she just spoke about millets. So this is small grains, which is new ingredient ideas to chefs, boon to farmers, healthy alternative to diners, and most sustainable crop on earth. Chef Soundararajan will be the person who will be giving this presentation. I would quickly like to give an introduction to him. He was also your MC yesterday. He's a corporate executive chef, director, and owner of Greenhouse Barbecue. Chef Soundararajan is the general secretary of the IFCA or IFCA and the only chef to be elected from Asia to be a member of the prestigious WACS Global Culinary Education Committee. He's also received a national award for the best chef in India in 2007. He's also won a gold hat award from the South India Culinary Association. So thank you so much for being here, Chef Soundararajan. If you can just start your camera. We can see you, Chef Soundararajan. Good evening, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Good evening, namaskar.
Namaste, and thank you for being here. We are looking forward to your presentation. I will be switching off my camera and putting this on for you. Thank you.
I'm sure you can see my screen. Yes, Chef.
Yes, we can see your screen, Chef.
Okay. Millets, I say millets wonder. Probably, have you got one session from yesterday without the mention of millets? Just think back. I'm not sure. I don't think. Okay, before going into my topic, there is something I have kept it to myself. I have not told Anahita to it in our introduction, which I want to tell you. I have started a restaurant called the Greenhouse Barbecue, and it's an international vegetarian barbecue. I started with a very clean, neat, hygienic kitchen, very safe kitchen, and you can see this kitchen through. I'm sure Ms. Meenakshi Bajaj introduced this already, and she said that she has got motivated with this restaurant. I'm very happy to hear that. And we have also have a takeaway, which is 100% vegetarian. We use 100% recyclable material. The restaurant is 100% vegetarian. I won't say plant. I also include dairy. You know, dairy is an integral part of Indian cuisine. But for any meal, we have grill on the tables, and we have 90 items, interesting food items served for every meal, different. I tell you, it is in the hands of the chefs. And my 5 items in this menu is from millets. And no meat preservatives, no additives, no chemical agents, no coloring agents, and also no eggs. Imagine, it's so difficult to create bakery products, chefs, you know, but our restaurants is well appreciated. It's almost 1.5 years, but don't ask me, do you make money? Don't ask me, but of course, we break even, and I'm very happy. More than that, I'm sure this is one of the people welcome this, and I'm sure it is picking up great. Probably we will open one more restaurant. That is it. This is one example of my whole topic on the millets. Okay, coming to the farming. I'm sure any one of the generations, 90% of Indians are farmers, have come from farming community. Maybe some generation you break and change your profession. In fact, we broke in my generation, become a chef. My third generation, fourth, fifth, sixth, are all doing farming. What is important here from yesterday's on topics that you balance the requirement. I mean, the farmer and chef have to balance the requirement. So the chef should use what farmer is producing, and farmer must produce what the soil can produce the best. Very simple. That is a formula. And don't go and ask the farmer. See, yesterday somebody said 100 crops. You can create millions of dishes from 100 crops. Okay, that is what I want to say, because this millet subject is very well related, and it is how you coordinate between the farmer, between the chef, and between the dealer, producer. It's not that you produce millions of tons of tomato, you don't know what to do with tomatoes and throw it on the road. No, it's not. So it's a coordination which is required between all of us. I would say millets are wonder. Why I say wonder? Millets are wonder crop. Require less water. It can grow in tropical climate. It doesn't require attention. It doesn't require manure. It doesn't require fertilizer. But it gives you good nutrients. It gives you good protein. It gives you all nutrients. So it's a wonder crop. It's completely underutilized crop in this globe. I'm telling you, it is underutilized in India. Only 2 to 3% of us we use, because it is in our hands, the chef's hands, to create interest in this wonderful crop. So this healthy crop, we must. What is a millet? First, let us understand what is a millet. See, millets are a group of it's small grains, very simple. It's a small grains of cereals, and it's widely grown. I tell you, animals love millets. Anyway, animals are more intelligent than us in eating. So that's a different thing. So to all, birds, animals, everyone, this grain can be used for everyone. Some people ask me, what is in Tamil, what is in Hindi for millet, what is in Hindi for vineyard, what is in Hindi. I think everything is available in the net. I'm not going to go into that, but I just got a slide in to put you what is in Hindi. So I'm going to talk about only 6 millets, because we have about 12 to 15 millets, but mostly these are the 6 millets commercially used in India. I think I have grown with the millets for the last 50 years, right from childhood, seen plenty of millets and used and dined, that it goes everywhere. It grows in the tropical climate. It doesn't require any farmer's attention. So the different varieties of millets are, one is the finger millet. You look at it, it's like a lab brown, it's good. And the next one is a Godo millet. The third one is a pearl millet. There is also one more variety in pearl millet. There is a brown top pearl millet. Then there is a foxtail millet. Then there is a banyan millet. Then there is a proso millet. I'm telling you, the proso millet is the one millet which requires the least amount of water among all the crops in the world. That is where the proso millet grows, in just humid, dry, warm, hot climate, any climate. So, what is the relationship of the millets with health? Fortification. You don't require fortification for millets. Biodiversity. It is a great example of biodiversity. It grows in sun. When some crops can grow only with water, this can grow without water. It is highly fibrous. It is completely nutrition packed. It has got calcium, protein, iron, niacin, minerals, everything. It's packed with nutrition. It's a sustainable crop, trans fat free completely. And it's an all-weather crop. And I tell you, all the promotions we want to do, such as trans fat free, eat right, packed, nutrition packed, I think the one best example, one thing is the millets. You take the millets. They are, you can count its benefits. I see, you go to the net and see, I put some of them, very few I have put, but you go in the net, this is a innumerable, but very important for the chefs. How do you use them? Don't tell me millets are not interesting. No, we don't create interest in millets. You create interest in millets. See, you don't, the customer don't come and ask you to create a Italian festival, Dakshin festival, a Hyderabadi festival. You create. Customer doesn't ask you to hang a chicken in a sword and then put it on a plate, pour the sauce from the hot. No, he never asks. You create. Why can't we create as chefs, create interest in millets? So the moment we create interest for people's eye. So the millets, what are the different forms from the farm? What are the different forms of the millets? You have there is no competition to the millets, but unfortunately, if you see rice, wheat, and millets, millet is consumed about 3 to 6%. So the different forms, you get the grains. Once you get the grains from the farms, then you have a flour. You can grind into flour. You can have roasted. You can have grains. You can have a rava, a miniature grinds of the millets. You can have a puffed millets. You can have the batter. Batter means directly take the millet, soak it in water and grind it. You can use it for dosa. You can use it for various crisps and you can use it. Then spirals, mixer. So you create a beauty in the millets. You create interest. You create. Take millet powder, take millet flour, add spices, add chili, add coriander leaves, add finely chopped onion. Mix this well with little water and then flatten it in a tawa and make it nice fritters. It's a very good snack and it goes very well with a good tamarind chutney or a tomato chutney or a chili chutney. That's very good. So you have an excellent variety of crops. You bring some flavor to your millets. You combine them with proper chilies and spices. You even combine with meat. No problem. To attract them in the beginning, you have to combine with something. So you make right cooking techniques. You make correct processing techniques. See, the millets are acquired taste. It acquires taste. People will stay to it for a long time. It takes time. You cannot introduce. See, I have 90 dishes in my restaurant. I have not introduced 85 dishes. I introduced first day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I have 5 dishes. Even if I have a pongal, I put 6 pongals. I have 2 vegetarians are made of millets. So now they have millets they have made cashew nut burfi from millet, they have chocolate burfis, they have nuts, they have ragi, finger millet groundnuts, they have special crisps they have made. There are a lot of companies are making even millet sweets. They have Godo millet laddus. You have millet pops, millet crisps. And then you also have this Godo millet crisps, you have Rosso millet crisps, and also there is a lot of use. We need the bakery help. We need the experts from bakery and confectionery to use this millet flour to use various bakery products. You can use cookies. You can use even chicky. See, I think the rusk. So the variety of items in terms of savory, in terms of sweets, in terms of bakery products, you can make immense variety you can make. Then there is an advantage of millets. You can mix with vegetables. You can mix with pulses. You can variety of salads. You can mix with anything. You can make your buffet interesting. You can make your buffet looks nice with various preparations of millets. You can use a lot of local vegetables. Green local vegetables, you have bitter gourd, bottle gourd, snake gourd, arbi, loki. You have, name it, millets go very well with this, curry along with this. There is a various combinations. You can have millions of combinations with these millets. And this is a sustainable product. Thank you. I request Barbara to play my video. Thank you. I have one dish I have made. I request Barbara can play the video.
But sometimes barnyard millet, you find it difficult to digest. So what is the solution? There is a solution that the barnyard millet is made into a nice puffed. So this puffed barnyard millet, it's easy to digest, easy to cook, and it makes a nice dish. So today we will make a cutlet with this puffed barnyard millet. Add 1 tablespoon of refined oil. Add 1 tablespoon of finely chopped onion, half tablespoon of finely chopped garlic, 1 teaspoon of finely chopped ginger, 1 teaspoon of finely chopped green chilies. After sauteing this finely chopped ingredients, we'll add a 1/4 teaspoon of coriander powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin powder and 1/2 teaspoon of red chili powder. Then saute for a while till all this raw flavor goes and comes out the green peas. Then finely chopped beans, finely chopped carrot, then finely chopped cabbage. Just saute for about a minute. Then add the salt. Barnyard millet, it's about 100 grams. And then I saute with this, mix it, add some boiled potatoes. After barnyard millet also serves as a binding, we can also add some potatoes. Okay, the mixer is ready. Now we will make it into cutlets. So now just shape it into round so that you press the sides so that now these cutlets rolled into flour and also crumbed with breadcrumbs, it's ready to. Okay, the cutlet, golden brown fried cutlet is ready. So now the puffed barnyard millet cutlet is ready.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. Thank you for the great opportunity for presenting.
Thank you so much, Chef. This was an amazing presentation. So much information on millets. And honestly, we can do a full webinar. Like I was talking about proteins, we can do a full webinar on millets. And as you've been advocating it, I've also been advocating it for the last 5 years. So we should definitely, get together and create some more interesting recipes for people. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And your presentation. Now we're going to quickly move on to our next session, which is again a very exciting session, which is on Farm Veda. A lot of you must be thinking, what is Farm Veda? It is an inspirational story of collective development of farmers of Anantapur in Andhra Pradesh. We have 2 people who will be talking about this. We've got Chef Vijaya Baskaran and Professor Trilochan Shastri. Just a quick introduction on both of them. Chef Vijaya Baskaran, the Vice President of the Indian Federation of Culinary Association, which is IFCA, cuisine consultant for Olam International, a leading agri and food business company, Global Innovation Center based in Bangalore, a co-founder and director of Everything Recycles Limited, and which is a socially responsible innovative startup. Welcome, Chef Vijaya Baskaran. And we've also got Professor Trilochan Shastri, who is at IIM Bangalore. He is the founder of Farm Veda, which is a website. We can share it with you on the chat link, which is 100% social venture making chemical and preservative free, healthy, nutritious, tasty, ready to eat foods. They work with around 40,000 farmers and they promote sustainable agriculture. Welcome to the Chefs Manifesto India Gathering to both of you. And I will leave the floor to you for the question and answer round. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chef Anahita. Welcome, Professor Shastri.
Welcome. Thank you. Yeah. So I will also meanwhile request Barbara to get the video ready. We have a small video about Farmera, which will give you a little bit insight, so that after that I'll shoot some questions to Professor Shastri. As and when the video is ready, we can start playing the video.
A farmer in India has to deal with the vagaries of the climate. The small farmer is at the mercy of middlemen and moneylenders who take away a lion's share of his income.
రాసి చూసి ఇన్ని బస్తాలకు ఇస్తారని ఒట్టుకు అడుగుతారు. అప్పుడు దగ్గర రైతు ఎంత లేని కనుక 100 బస్తాలు అయ్యేటి 60-70 బస్తాలకే తీసుకొని పోతాండ్రు.
It was in this scenario that CCD started changing the way the small farmer was treated. Started in 2004 with a corpus of 1 crore rupees, CCD kept the small farmer at the center of all its plans. CCD worked hard and set up farmer cooperatives.
CCD వాళ్ళు వచ్చి గ్రామాలు తిరిగి సంఘాలు ఏర్పరిచినారు. ఒక 8 సంవత్సరాలు అవుతుంది సంఘాలన్నీ ఏర్పరిచి మళ్ళీ ఒక సమాఖ్యగా తయారు చేసి.
These cooperative societies eliminated the farmers' dependence on middlemen to sell their crop.
సొంతం ప్లాట్ఫారం స్కేల్ పెట్టుకొని రైతులే సొంతం తూకాలు వేసి పంపిస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి ఒక తూకాల్లో మాత్రం ఎలాంటి మోసము లేదు.
With the farmers selling directly to the cooperative, their income went up by at least 30%.
ఈ ఎంఎస్పి సెంటర్ పెట్టినప్పుడు ఇక్కడ దోలినందువల్ల దాదాపు బస్తాకు 600 రూపాయలు మ్యాక్సిమం అంటే.
All the profits from the activities go back into the farmers' hands. CCD went a step further and helped with the setting up of mills and godowns. The Farmer Federation requires farmers to save 100 rupees per bag of groundnut.
80 lakhs వరకు డిపాజిట్ ఫిక్స్డ్ డిపాజిట్ ఉంది 10 lakhs వరకు అకౌంట్లో ఉందన్నమాట.
The setting up of the seeds and farm input store has reduced the input costs for the farmers.
ఒక బస్తాకు 50 నుంచి 100 రూపాయలు తక్కువగా ఉంటుంది. పురుగు మందుల్లో కూడా దాదాపుగా 150 నుంచి 200 రూపాయలు తక్కువగానే ఉంటుంది.
Today, the Farmer Federation is financially strong, and for further growth, it wants to work with mainstream banks. This success story is similar in all the areas that CCD operates in today. They are planning to expand to 10 states and are gathering resources and finances for this. CCD realized that the gap between the commodity price of groundnut and the finished products is huge. Value addition started recently through another sister organization called Farm Veda. The seeds have been planted. The nursery is ready. It's now time to transplant this success story into other parts of the country. Come, become a catalyst in this revolution. Together, let's make sure that our Annadatas also become prosperous.
Thank you for playing the video. You are already expanded out of Anandpur now, so I know. Yes, that's true. Okay, I give an example of Anandpur, but I know I'm very sure, having talked to you, that you also expanded to other states in the country, isn't it so? That's right. Yes. So I believe, in which states, for example, you are there?
We are there, of course, in Telangana, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and a little bit in Madhya Pradesh. And we are hoping to start some work. We have also started some work in northern Karnataka. Central and South India is where we are, as now.
So, for example, I know Anandpur is proximity to Bangalore. So I know a lot of Bangalore chefs have been supporting you in getting those products into their stream. And we also went through a couple of sessions on millet. So you also have a lot of products on millet, isn't it so?
Yes, we have ready-to-eat instant mixes made of millets, ragi, multi-millet, both dosa, idli, etc. And we are planning to expand that, both the portfolio, and we are exporting these products. Recently, we had the privilege of exporting it to Japan. So there are some.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
So how are your products welcomed in, of all places, in Japan?
I think we are sneaking in through the Indian diaspora there, but let us see how the mainstream Japanese consumers react to it.
I wanted to add a couple of things. One is that the numbers you saw on the video, they have expanded almost twice since the video was made. And number two is that all the profits of Farm Veda actually go to the farmers, and our products are without chemicals, without preservatives. They have a strong dose of millets, and we are trying to do as much as we can to make all the low fat, high protein, high fiber, high kind of products. So for example, we have developed a breakfast muesli from peanuts by removing the oil basically, which is about 43% protein and only 4% saturated fat. So we are also exploring how to make products which are very healthy, good for the heart, good for the soil, good for the soul, etc., etc. And we have also moved into organic farming in a fairly major way.
So that's very interesting. I also seen your product profile. You also have a cold pressed oil. So probably you're separating the oil and you're selling it separately, and you're also doing the muesli separately. That's a smart way of doing things.
Yes.
So that's a smart way. Here we have a collective cooperative of farmers who have adapted to the modern requirement. And can you also tell me, Professor Tilal Shastri, you are expanding in so many places across the country. You are also in Anandpur, adjoining Bangalore. How the chefs community can work with you, and how they can take this kind of chef-farmer partnership further ahead?
Well, one outstanding example is a chef called Vijaya Baskaran himself, who is helping us. But, we are selling to a very well-known five-star chain of hotels, and we had to go do some legwork. I think our chefs are a great community. They can brand this kind of an approach. I would not ask them to confine themselves only to Farm Veda, but farm to folk, wherever the chefs can help connect farmer groups and buy directly from them, whether it's fruits, vegetables, meats, and of course, food items. It would be a great help. And if they can also come, I know some of you are celebrity chefs, if they can give us 30 seconds to 1 minute of their time and speak about our products, farmer products, in various blogs and programs that they have, that would enormously expand the reach of to consumers, because consumers would respect the opinion of people like you and the chef community. So these are some ideas which I would request your chef community to consider, and we'll be happy to connect with them. They can directly get in touch with us, or I will request Mr. Baskaran some leads for how to connect the farmers to the chefs, so that we can take it offline and really start a conversation with the chef community on this.
So basically the chefs have to look for their local farming community. Farmer is a good example. It's a bright example where we have worked in the past. So it's a great learning for the chefs to identify the local farming community which is around them, try to promote their product. So it's very natural. It's a punchline nowadays. People talk that you work with the local farming community, you are going to save the carbon footprint, and you're going to be sustainable. So thank you so much, Professor. Thank you so much, all the chefs. And any questions are there, please shoot them through the Q&A. Thank you, Chef Anahita.
Thank you, Chef Vijay, and thank you so much, Professor Trilochan. And we will be happy as the chefs community. We will be very happy to talk about your farm. A lot of chefs on the Chefs Manifesto are connected to farmers. So if we have all your details with the community, we can spread the word, and we can definitely get you on board with more hotels and restaurants.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now we're going to quickly move on to our next presentation, and we have a very, very celebrated chef, Chef Abhijit Saha, who is going to be giving us a presentation on vertical farming. A quick introduction to Chef Abhijit Saha. He is the founding director and chef of Avantgarde Hospitality Private Limited, which is in Bangalore. It operates 2 premium restaurants, which are Caperberry and Fava. I am going to let him give an introduction of himself. Chef Abhijit Saha, can you please switch on your camera? Chef Abhijit Saha, can you please switch on your camera?
I switch on the video. It says
Okay, Chef. So have you given your, Barbara, do you have Chef Abhijit Saha's presentation? You can play it. Great. Oh, the floor is yours, Chef. Have a great presentation.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's been a great experience so far being a part of this wonderful platform. Thank you all for having me over, and I think that this is a platform that has been created for the stakeholders of the food cycle, or what the nutrition for mankind is meant to be. So it connects the farmers as well as the chefs and all others who are associated with this food feeding mankind. So that is what is important. And I really appreciate everybody who has put in this effort to bring all this together. And I hope that we can all take it forward and make it a greater movement across the world. So now, so far, the speakers have spoken about organic farming. They have spoken about biodynamic farming. They have spoken about what you call is the regenerative farming, and these are most essential for for this world, for us to basically bring the world back, or nature back to the way that it was. But there is also an element of science which always fascinates me, and science gives us also an opportunity to do things in a different way. So while we should continue to do our traditional agriculture and do the going back to nature, I think that there is something that we can do which is also as important and as relevant as it is today. So I think if we talk about, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so while we talk about traditional agriculture, traditional agriculture has its limitations and challenges. Because I think that traditional agriculture is dependent on the vagaries of the nature, and it is only, we have very limited land which is arable. So basically, with the growth of the population, what is becoming important is that we should explore possibilities which is different from just natural farming or using arable land, which is becoming very limited. The next slide, please. Okay, so here we can see that the rising population is becoming an area of big concern for us, and a lot of this population are now moving towards the cities. Okay, so today the population is 7.7 billion people, and we are looking at 9 billion people in 2050. Food production must double by 2050 to meet demand from the world's growing population. Innovative strategies needed to combat hunger, and experts tell second committee also that that there is a complete change that is required in the way that we are looking at agriculture. So whenever we talk about traditional agriculture, so you require 70% of the water is consumed by traditional agriculture as of today. As we know that there is very limited of all the water resources in the world, only 1% is accessible to mankind or is usable by mankind. The rest of the water is all saline water or water that we cannot access. And as a result of that, we are using 70% of it towards traditional agriculture. Now, what else does traditional agriculture do? So it destroys the environment in terms of clearing the the forests, and then of course there is usage of artificial fertilizers, and of course pesticides, which causes a lot of problem with the land, and it increases the nitrate contents, and also causes the human diseases that we see, a lot of diseases. Next, please. So the arable land, if you see in the world, is today approximately to the size of Latin America. And it is actually, that is the only percent of crops, that is the only quantum of land which can grow, which is suitable for traditional agriculture. So which is a very, very small part of the total land that is available to us. So here we can see that, climate change is becoming a major problem because of the traditional methods of, so far, it is becoming one of the biggest challenges in the world because of the various human activities that we have been doing. And also agriculture is responsible for at least, causing a pollution in terms of the water, and also to the climate change, to the extent of a large percentage of it. So basically, soil erosion then is being caused by excessive cultivation, and you can see all of these problems that is being caused by traditional agriculture. So without sufficient food, in this way, if we continue to do this way, then go this way, without sufficient food, we cannot feed the growing population. So this is very, very important that we innovate and start thinking about, how we can increase the food production within this planet without, exploiting further the natural resources. So some of the companies across the world, they have become pioneers of, this vertical farming, and they include the Aerofarm, the Gotham Greens, Ironox, basically Bright Farms. So they are different companies from across the world. They have taken this initiative to basically, bring this form of farming, the vertical farming, to us, and they are growing a lot of food through this method. So as you can see, we can grow different kinds of vegetables, particularly leafy green vegetables, and also a lot of other vegetables grow very well within these vertical farms and within the close confines of the vertical farms. Vertical farms can be created using they are close to cities and very efficient in terms of space required and water usage, quick turnaround and volume of production. So basically, they can give large volumes of production, and also the time taken is only 50% of growing traditional crops. So they don't need physical. So what are the important factors of vertical farming? So you need a physical layout, you need lighting, you need a growing medium, and of course you need sustainable energy for supporting all of these. So maximize the space available. So now when you see the top view of a standard farm, it looks like this. So there is a lot of space that it takes to grow the same number of crops, the same number of plants in a traditional farming practice. Whereas when you do the vertical farming, and there are two ways of doing vertical farmings. One is the horizontal plane method and the vertical plane method. So they take only half of the area of, and if you grow higher, they take even lesser area to grow these, this is the same amount of crop. So sunlight, as we know, is essential for the growth of, we have known for years that sunlight is essential for the growth of crops. But, there is a certain spectrum of sunlight, which is the yellow spectrum, which is not at all required by the crops for them to grow. So now you can use LED light and, cut the energy that is required for, giving the light to the crops, and you give it to the specific spectrum that these crops require, and they can grow as a result. So now the cost and the this thing of LED lightings have really come down dramatically, and I think that it has become much more cheaper in today's world to use LED lighting, and they are very, very energy efficient as well. So as you can see here, so the crops that are being grown here through the LED lights, and they are being grown in a very, very compact environment and in different, to a height of different levels. Usage of AI and advanced computer programs to create ideal growing environments. So basically, when we talk about vertical farming, how do we make it more efficient? So the complete, nourishment that is given to the plants, as well as the lighting that is given to the plants, for them to grow ideally and for them to produce the maximum amount of, nutrients and all of that, is controlled by artificial intelligence and a computerized system that helps in reducing the growth cycle, the time that is required for the growing of these plants under vertical farm. So when we talk about vertical farms, they should be ideally be to make it the whole process more sustainable. We must use the energy from renewable resources, and also basically the water also should be ideally produced from water harvesting, or through other processes of saving the water. So renewable water and energy resources are also critical to vertical farming. Now, if we compare vertical farming with standard farm production, you can see the difference here clearly. We have 80 to 120 kgs per meter square of vertical farms. For a regular traditional farming, we have 80 to 120 kg per square meter, and we need 1 liter of water, and we need 43 food miles. So it only consumes 43 food miles, the vertical farm. As compared to that, standard farm production is only 3.9 kilograms per square meter, and we have 250 liters of water that is required per lettuce, per kg of lettuce, and we have 2000 food miles that is there. So 350 times more efficient production per square meter, 95% less consumption of water, and less food miles and carbon footprint. So you can see this difference. This is a very, very important slide for you to understand when we're talking about growing lettuce. Okay, so there are different ways of vertical farming. There are different technologies. So where hydroponics is one of them, where it's a cycling, where the water is in direct contact with the root of the plant, and also it's a closed water process. So the loss of water is very minimal, and also it's a soil-free agriculture. So here we see, what we see here is also critical, is that the roots, they are in direct contact with water, and they do not need any other medium. So basically they are directly in contact with water. Next, please. So now we talk about aeroponics. So this is another way of vertical farming, another process technology which is used, and it is used under controlled environments. So it does not require any soil, does not require any sunlight, and does not require any direct water. Next, please. So here what they do is that they spray the roots from time to time with nutrient-based water. So basically here, the reduction of water is as much as 90% to 95% reduction in water consumption for growing the crops and the food items. Then we have aquaponics. So this is a very symbiotic kind of farming. So where there is, fish is grown, fish is farmed, and the fish consumes whatever the fish is consuming and is producing as a result of its living. It is in turn giving it to the plant, which goes into the plant as the nutrient. So 70,000 square feet is the size of the Aero farm. And, this is a farm in the outskirts of New York, in New Jersey. So they have 70,000 square feet, which is there. And, they produce food, which is quite unimaginable in terms of the quantum. So they produce 2 million pounds of high quality and healthy food in a space of 70,000 square feet. So that is quite unimaginable. And probably this is the future of food cultivation, because I think that as chefs, we must learn how to support and understand what is vertical farming all about. And it can help us in becoming more local, more sustainable. And I think it is the time for us to become, all of us as chefs or as human beings, to contribute to farming, because without that, I don't think so it will be possible for us to feed the number of people and create the food security that is required for the future of the world. So I hope that you understand this, and you do not have to have a large space or 70,000 square feet. You can do it on the rooftop. You can do it in your lawns that you have outside your home. It can be done at airports. That is what I'm trying to do. It can be done in various places, wherever in the city. So basically, food is grown very close to the city and is accessible, and it is definitely more efficient way of farming. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chef. Thank you for your insights. I'm so sorry if we had to rush you. But I just want to say Aero Farms is a place that we, part of the Chefs Manifesto team, had visited in New Jersey. So I know what you're talking about. And now there are lots of hydroponic farms in and around the city. So I think as chefs, it's time for us to think that, how can we get some of our produce from them, and how can we support them as well. So thank you for your time, Chef Abhijit, and we're going to move on to our next panel. We are running about 20 minutes late, but we will get to the end of today's day. So please do bear with us, everyone, the speakers, the panelists, and most importantly, all the attendees. So the next panel discussion, the topic is how to control wastage and smart usage of ingredients for a sustainable future. It is such a brilliant topic. And we've got Chef Salil Fadnis, who's going to be our anchor, and Gulshan and Chef Sabi, who are going to be on the panel. Just a quick introduction to Chef Salil. He's the General Secretary of the Chef Gill India, founder member of Western India Culinary Association, and currently serving as the Vice President. With 28 years under his belt and food being at the center of his heart, he has steered the kitchen as executive chef for 16 years. He took a lateral shift into the world of managing hotels and is now designated as Hotel Manager Sahara Star. Also got Chef Rajiv Gulshan, who is the Dean Academics of the Indian School of Hospitality, and Chef Sabi, who is such a dynamic chef and the president of the Indian Young Chefs Association. So welcome, and I'm going to leave the floor to you, Chef Salil, and you can ask them all these important questions, because super excited to know what all you have as to share with all of us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chef Anahita. And thank you, Chef Gill and Chef Soundararajan, for having us on this panel over here. We'll quickly go on to the topic of food wastage. And I've got a small presentation before we move on to the panelists. So I'll just share the screen and we go on to All right. So food wastage is something which happens brazenly all over our country. It happens in the farms, it happens in our houses, it happens in our restaurants and hotels and restaurants. And that's something which we just need to avoid. But then exactly how do we define food wastage? And the enormity of this entire thing is so huge that I would simply call food wastage, or define food wastage, as a crime against humanity. It is, we are lucky enough that we get to eat food, we get to eat 3 meals a day, but there are a lot of people, a huge number of people, which are not so privileged to eat food. And let's just have a look at some figures. So the figures say that at least 1 in every 7 people go hungry every night. That is, and this is related only to India. So if we actually go on to the world, then the figures would really change over here. And that 1/3 of the food, more than 1/3 of the food, so can take it somewhere around 33 to 35% of the food that is produced gets wasted every year. Crores of people waste food every day on their plates, and crores of people sleep with hunger in their stomach. Food, an estimate says that food worth about 244 crores is wasted every day in India. And about 19.5 crore people in our country remain hungry every day or every night. This is a very, I would say, gross fact that India wastes as much food as the whole of UK consumes. And that gives the enormity of the situation, that it's just only by the way of amount of food that we waste, you can feed actually a country that is the size of UK. And as I said earlier, about 33 to 35 or 40% of the food waste gets wasted in our country. So what can we do? I mean, we as chefs, what else can we do? Their food gets wasted on all levels. It gets wasted at farm level, it gets wasted on the transportation and storage, it gets wasted in preparation, etc. But yes, let's not talk of big things. Let's not talk of controlling food wastage at the farm or transportation. As chefs, let us just talk about things that we can do. Let's just concentrate on what we do best, and that is cooking and serving. So how much of food are you wasting? That's a question which everybody needs to ask themselves. It's only when everybody learns to respect food and everybody just is grateful for whatever they get on their plate, so, and finishes whatever they take on their plate. I think we should do away with this problem of food wastage. And that can be done by very simple things, that each and every one, let us just pledge not to waste any kind of food, and let us pledge that we won't allow anybody else to waste the food. We have so much, as chefs, we've got so much of influence, and if we really get to do that, it's that everybody can eat and no one can sleep hungry ever again. And I think that should be the goal for each and every professional. Having said this, I would now like to turn to our panel, and I would request the panelists to put their cameras on. Chef Abhijit Saha, Chef Sabi, Chef Gulshan. Chefs, can we have your cameras on, please? Chef Sabi, are you there?
Yes, Chef, very much. Can you hear me?
Great. Yes, I can see you also now. Chef Gulshan?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you, Chef. And Chef Saha has been there before us.
Yes.
So, and as I mentioned earlier, that food wastage happens in all the levels, which is farm level, transportation, storage, distribution, and during the wastage in our preparation, wastage in consumption, and wastage on the plate. But the effort that is there, that needs to begin at home. And it might sound very incorrect, that, and it just might sound very harsh as well, that the foundation for food waste is laid in our houses, it's laid in our homes, and it's laid, again, very controversial and emotional issue as well, that that when a mother allows a child to leave food on his plate, eventually that would not get wasted because the mother will consume it, but the foundation of food waste has been laid in the child's mind that I can eat as much as I want and just leave it. I'm not talking of infants. I would really, you know, exempt them from this, but somewhere around the age of 5 years, when a child starts thinking and when a child starts throwing his weight and he knows what he can do, what he cannot get away with. So that is where the foundation is laid. And that's a very emotional issue. That issue is between the child and the mother, but this becomes a ethical issue. It becomes an issue of ethics when that child grows into a adult. And my first question comes from here to you, Chef Sabi, that when a person grows in and the same adults visit restaurants, how do you as a chef and owner look at this issue from two perspectives? One is from the commercial aspect of it, and other is, as a chef, I'm sure food and food waste is very, very emotional issue for you as well.
Thank you, Chef. First of all, thank you, Chefs Manifesto, and all the honorable chefs in the panel, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Chef Salil, I think it's been an amazing day of learning. We have heard some amazing, staggering figures. All the fantastic chefs spoke. I think that the culmination is the subject of food wastage, which is why I think we are speaking towards the end, where it's probably of prime importance today to all of us. I, being a restaurant operator, chef, and an owner in multiple restaurants across the country, it's something that I've been facing for a while. And the way that I've addressed it, maybe always not the best clinical and the best methodical way, but you know, there are things that we've tried doing. But the question that you just asked is so important that it is a question of the society. It's a question of people's personal ethics. I was always asked, I'm talking about early 2000, before we had a structure or forums to speak like this, we were always asked that why do chefs always waste so much food? And I'm like, how is it possible that a chef who works 12, 14 hours behind the hot kitchen will make all the effort to cook food to only throw it in the bin? So it's not fair that it's a fault of the chef. It's imperative that we understand that it's a society pressure that people order extra food. The banquet menus are designed to have 3 + 3, 4 + 4, 6 + 6, 20 + 20, without realizing that we can't eat more than 450, maybe 500 grams at the max in a stomach at one go of a meal. So it really needs to be discussed with the people coming through your gates without hurting their sentiments, because they're also paying for the food, because they also feel empowered that today I am buying, I choose what I eat. I go to a grill or a live branch and I pick up and fill my plates, 4 or 5 courses. I fill my plate with apps, then I fill my plate with grilled meats, then I do the same with your biryanis, then I go to the desserts and fill myself. I think it's very, very ethical. Maybe there is a way we can see in the kitchens we started weighing a bins. I know school colleges have started doing it, but for some strange reason, as we enter a restaurant, we feel very empowered. We start thinking that this, I own it because I paid for it now, and it is all right for me to pick up and waste. Somehow, I think, as you rightly pointed out, Chef, it's a tricky one. But right from your childhood, if this is implanted in our brains, and especially in India, most of the staggering food waste reports comes out of India, also considering a country that is famished, like 30-40% of the country goes hungry almost every night. How is it possible as Indians, with the respect to our nation and the mother nature, that we are allowed to do this, be as chefs or as guests? So I think it's something that we can keep talking in these kind of forums. Chefs today are opinion leaders. They should also speak in forums where it is not exactly telling somebody while they're eating, but in a forum where this could also be discussed in a more civil manner.
Right, Chef, thank you. But at the same time, we just need to draw a line somewhere. Like you mentioned that the person pays for it and he just wastes for it. But paying something and wasting of food, just don't get the right to waste that food, because you might have paid for it. but the entire nation, I would say, has worked for that food to bring to your plate. I mean, it's, yes, a larger share is goes to the farmer to grow that food, but everyone has somewhere or other contributed to bring that food from the farm to your plate. Chef Abhijit, you also run restaurants, and we just like to know what is your experience and what has been done by the restaurants to reduce this kind of wastage.
Thank you, Salil. The thing is, I'd like to update the information. I used to run restaurants. Like 3 months back, I stopped running restaurants. Now I'm more associated with the Bangalore airport as a food and beverage consultant. So where I'm setting the new vision based on sustainability, and that whatever Chef Sabi said so far, I think that, and your presentation in the beginning of your slideshow in the beginning of this panel discussion was very, very relevant. So as restaurants, we can do a lot, but because we are into the commercial business of food, it becomes very tricky for us to create that balance between what a customer wants and what we can do. So some of the simplest things that we can do is to ensure that the processes in the kitchen are very well implemented. That means we run a tight ship in the kitchen. We make sure that we sensitize our teams to to become aware that they should not be wasting food or any kind of energy that we use in this thing, whether it is refrigeration, whether it is lighting, whether it's heat, or whether it is the cooking medium or anything in excess. So because wasting doesn't help anybody, then of course we can talk about what we can do in terms of portion control. As a chef, you must be doing the right portions for the right meals. When a person is having a single dish meal, the quantum is different versus when a person is having a multi-course meal. So understanding the aspect of portion control is very important. Now, making people aware and also guests aware in a very subtle kind of a manner is what is becoming very, very critical. And I can assure you that many of the guests today that come to our restaurants are even more conscious than some of the chefs that are working in the kitchens. So what happened recently was during COVID. Before COVID, when I started my assignment as a food and beverage consultant for the airport, before COVID, we were using basically bottled water in plastic bottles. And in an airport, you know how many bottles of waters are consumed. So as soon as I started my advisory role there, so we stopped serving bottled water pre-COVID. So there used to be many customers who would themselves come and tell us that why don't you start the process of serving filtered water instead of using plastic water. I don't want to be a contributor.
Correct.
So I think that wastage of food also means that you are wasting a lot more than just food. Please try to understand, people may think that when you have 1 cup of coffee, it is only 1 cup of water that you're using. But how much of water has gone into using or making that 1 cup of coffee is 125 liters. So that plant requires 125 liters of water to produce enough berries, from in terms of growth to the production to the processing and to everything. It requires 120. Consume 1 cup of coffee, you consume 125 liters of water. So wasting a cup of coffee means you're wasting not 1 cup of water there, but you're wasting 125 liters of water. So these are things that we have to do as chefs. We have to educate the customers. We have to make our teams sensible. And as chefs, we have to become more aware.
Chef, I can't agree more on that, and especially the example that you gave of water And that's why, and we cannot really quantify each and everything. And that is exactly the reason why I use the word that the whole nation has worked towards it, and in some way or other. We move to Chef Gulshan. Chef Gulshan, what role, you've been in institutions, you've been in teaching, you are the Dean of Studies at Indian School of Hospitality. So what role do you think could institutions play in impacting this reduction of wastage through education? Do you think, is there any topic or subject which is already being taught, or in future it could be introduced in the institutes?
Thank you, Salil. Thank you, Chef Abhijit and Chef Sabi, for your inputs. Definitely, I think it is already part of the curriculum. Whatever the chefs have spoken earlier about, Chef Abhijit spoke about portion control and focusing more on number of dishes being ordered and how the portion for that particular dish would reduce based on that is critical and important. And Chef Sabi spoke about the sense of entitlement when a customer comes, he believes that he can order more because he's paying for it without bearing in mind that in fact what the impact on the environment is. And we as chefs, as rightfully said by all the panelists, need to focus on educating the guests. But most importantly, first we need to know the impact which is happening. And a lot of it in your slide you had mentioned about reduce, and I would like to add a couple more R's. I also use the terminology with our students, which is rescue. So rescue the food, or look at some food which is getting spoiled and how we can rescue it. I also like to use the word reuse, but also creating the difference between best before and use by. I think a lot of people, a lot of at student level, we are teaching them when it says to differentiate and to, in fact, say that if it's best before, what does it mean? And if it's used by, can it still be used or not? And then the use of recipes. I always say that as students, we need to, while we are learning, when we are peeling a carrot, understanding the yield and understanding the wastage, which is usable, and defining wastage, which can be used to making stocks or elsewhere, needs to be spoken more about. I would also like to add one more point about involving the communities and consumers into this, even educating them. When we have our meetings with the parents, I think one of the things which we emphasize on when the students are showing to the parents what they're cooking is to involve them, have community-focused approach that really cook food, storage times, methods of cooking, and correct disposable method for uneaten food, which actually increases the knowledge relating to end of the use labels. What we have also seen with that is that the length of the time the food is kept in the fridge or the freezer should be in fact reduced. And sometimes I think of olden times when we didn't have fridges in our house. We used to cook and consume on the same day, and then we knew exactly how much to cook because we knew that if we don't eat it, then that will go for a waste. And you had also mentioned about the scraps left on a plate and eaten by a mother, which talks about the involvement of parents, which can come from the very beginning. And so I think the curriculum now are looking at these things critically. And in fact, each and every class we are doing the usable waste, packaging waste also. A lot of time we get packaged chicken and or vegetables. You see there are 2 or 3 polythene bags on top, and then you call the purveyor and supplier and ask them, do you need 2 polythene bags? Because neither it's not helping, because it's in fact increasing the time, the expiry date, and also the time the thing gets cooled takes more time in the fridge. So these are some of the things which we've added to the curriculum, Chef.
Right. Thank you, Chef. While we are on the education part, and you just briefly touched this topic as well, which was my next question. How can we bring awareness, or how can we educate and mobilize the general public against this waste? Chef Sabi, you've been a TV personality, and Chef Abhijit Shah as well for a very long time. How would both of you use this opportunity or use this medium to generate this kind of awareness amongst general public? Chef Sabi, please first.
Chef, I think it's very valid that you put this point that there could be awarenesses brought without just being told also, because at times it could become repetitive. It can seem like reprimanding something. It might bring a bad taste in the mouth. So a lot of the times through experience, if this is driven. So I'll give a very small example. I think I was cooking recently in one of these like demos, and I was using mortar and pestle, and I was pounding garlic, which was with skin. I washed my carrots, which was in season. It's beautiful. You didn't need to peel them. The baby potatoes was lovely with skin, and I cooked a meal, and everybody was quite like, oh, can you really eat the skin of, okay, potato is okay, but can you really eat the skin of the garlic? I'm like, okay, why don't you wait for the meal to happen and then you see how the experience. So at the end of the day, I think everybody said, look, it gave an interesting dimension. There was something crunchy. Some of the parts we could eat, of course, we left it on the plate, but some of it was nice and edible. So we've changed, the way that we look today. In all my kitchens, we always, of course, talk about nose to tail, but we also have a no trimming policy, and we make it a point that this is done in most of our live stations, also in our brunches and buffets, also in our demos, that you're doing it in the sight of the guests and your diners, and encourage them to start asking questions that, oh, is it okay to use this particular skin, or is it all right? Would it make the food bad? Can I eat it? Is it edible? Would it have a problem? Would I get a stomach upset? And things like that kind of questions comes up. Of course, you need to know the subject, like Chef Abhijit said, that our team needs to be sensitized before it needs to be put across. So yes, I think putting these kind of small little messages through food while you're cooking, while you're serving, while you're eating, especially when you're in live demonstrations, TV, doing it for your social media and all of that, it definitely needs to be driven by us. We need to take the onus for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And even while you're talking, I realized that now we on the senior level, yes, there's a lot of awareness on it, but probably on the junior level, the most junior levels in the kitchen, they need to be sensitized with this, that it is food, respect it. It is not just a product. Don't treat it like any product and start wasting it, because when somebody is really using this in huge quantities, slowly the focus shifts from being food and ingredient to being a product, and they just so that's where the awareness need to be brought within us and within our kitchens as well. Chef Abhijit, if you could please touch on this subject.
I think that it is a very important responsibility today of chefs to, try and see that how we can, play a more important role, a larger role beyond our kitchens to see. So one of the ways for doing it is connecting with basically school children directly. It cannot be just done by telling directly to the consumer. Sometimes when you start early in the schools, so it's a time consuming process. So the thing is that if you start early from the school days and you connect with schools and various colleges, so what happens is that the awareness rises from the bottom, and you directly come and interact with them or tell them directly on the face, it can be sometimes problematic. But I think that connecting with children in their formative years is very important. So to build bonds with children. So there are many chefs who are, doing channels which are food specifically meant for kids and, mothers who cook for the kids. So I that, when we these levels people, it becomes more easy to spread this about or any other aspect you spread the message about. So basically connecting with a very younger children, connecting with schools is one of the ways that, we can definitely help in spreading the message about reducing wastage.
Yeah, thank you, Chef Abhijit. Although we missed out on a few last line of yours due to this due to the network issue, but Chef Gulshan, there's a question coming up in the chat box, and it says, "What about the food wastage that happens during the buffet operations? And you've been into hotels and restaurants for a very, very long time, Chef. What's your take on that?
It is a big pandemic. I think it's a big thing. There is a significant amount of wastage which happens on a buffet, and that's why a lot of restaurants now are restricting it to more serving it on the table directly in bowls. Make it liquid. Even buffet dishes are becoming 3 compartments rather than 2 compartments, and I think that's a good way to go. Obviously, the food which has been kept on the buffet is not safe to reuse it, so I would not recommend that. But adding to earlier 2 speakers' point, I would also like to say with some of our students, we have been able to take them to meet the farmers and to these farmer markets. And that has really left a good mark on the students to interact directly with the farmers, to see the effort which goes into growing a product and seeing how much hard work goes into it. They start respecting the ingredients much more. And with that comes the sensitivity of being able to use it even in a pork, for example, from nose to tail, and not wasting any part, and trying to come up with being creative by making everything more edible, and in terms of textural or in terms of taste or in terms of presentation. I think connecting with the farmers is a very good way of understanding the effort, and also I think it transforms into less wastage, definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Chef. And also, I would just like to add something to this, that having smaller quantities on the buffet, or even for that matter, a proper forecasting of your expected footfall, not putting all the food at the same time on the buffet, these would definitely help in reducing these wastages on the buffet as well. And I'm getting signals from Anahita that we don't have too much of time. We have 1 minute left. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for giving your insights onto this part of food wastage. And I'm sure this issue is central to a lot of people, and a lot of people, chefs. It's a very, very, it's an issue which would be very close to the hearts of the chefs, and everybody would start working towards it. And I hope we just might reduce this kind of wastage, if not completely eliminate it. But yes, definitely what we need to eliminate is eliminate hunger. Thank you, gentlemen. And Anahita, back to you.
Thank you so much, Chef Salil, Chef Rajiv Gulshan, Chef Sabi, Chef Abhijit Saha. Chef Sabi has been a mentor, and I think all of you on the panel are such senior chefs for everyone who's a participant and who's listening. So all your words and everything that you've shared with us, I hope everyone's listening and amplifying that food wastage or food loss is an absolute crime. If we can from our kitchens, however much, let's try and reduce that, because there are some amazing things that you can make out with the leftover scraps. Again, another day for this discussion. I would love to also be a part of it where we can talk about it. But we're going to quickly move on to our last segment. We have Professor Ram, who's going to be presenting. His full name is Professor Ram Rajasekharan. He's going to be presenting on the impact of nutrition status and Indian agriculture. It's just a 10-minute presentation, so please be there with us and bear with us, and then we just have the closing remarks. So I'm just going to hand over to Professor Ram. The floor is all yours, and looking forward to a good presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you. And my name is Ram Rajasekharan, currently a dean at the School of Life Science at the Tamil Nadu in Tiruvallur. There is a university called Central University of Tamil Nadu. I'm currently heading that division of life science. But what we are going to talk to you today is the 2 subject areas, not general nutrition. I have given a title, a particular crop called teff, T-E-F-F, teff. Before I talk about the teff, let me introduce who am I qualified to talk about a new crop in this country. Earlier, I was very successful in introducing a crop in our nation. It's called chia. The teff is another grain which I am going to talk to you today. Is the recent one which I am going to share in a video also for you. And what I am going to talk to you I'm trying to share the video. It's not permitting. Okay, it's okay. It's not allowing me to share. That's okay. The teff is the smallest Ethiopian crop, the tiniest grain God has ever created. It is one of the oldest grain, the oldest millet. Ethiopia is the place where we have got Number two, the starch is reasonably very good. It is a resistant starch. That's the precise reason. All the marathon runner uses this as their staple food, even the practice, even during the sports time, because they need glucose in a long run. And these glucose are not from rice digested immediately and shooted, but it's a slow digesting starch. The third important component is the mineral. It is actually a minerals. If you look at the amount of minerals which is there, which has very good amount of calcium and also a phosphorus. Very interestingly, the amount of iron in this grain is much higher. Even zinc is also much higher. Because of these micronutrient dense food, dense grain called teff, and these teff can be used as one of the very good food for food-to-food fortification program, and that is one of the very interesting part. Even though the grain is new, people are afraid to really look at newer things. Thanks to all of you to bring that, blending this food in an Indian cuisine and trying to give an Indian population. Now, many of the farmers are successful in growing. Now they are taking a value out of the grain because of you. Now, the recent introduction of our crop, which is teff, which is coming up very slowly, especially grown more in the dry climate condition because it requires minimum water, and northern part of Karnataka is the one which is using and growing these kind of crop. The second part which I wanted to bring, because we are talking about deficiency of many of these micronutrients, and many programs in the healthcare sector is trying to say we have to put a lot of iron, we have to put a lot of zinc. And even though we put all this, but the bioavailability is very low, it would be nice to have a grain which is being fortified with another grain, and that is the way to go for the future. The future, what we are looking at it, instead of trying to add the chemical quantity, otherwise called only supplements, can we add food-to-food fortification to bring a nutrition security for our nation? Let me thank all of you to make this step into our plate. Without these chefs' involvement, I don't think I would not have successful in this plant which is going to survive in the field. Thank you all for your time. Thank you. I've completed my presentation. Hello?
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are at the end of day 2. I mean, it's been an exciting 2 days. Thank you for everyone who's been here. We just have last few words, which I would like to bring on Paul Newnham, if he can switch on his camera. I can see Paul. Thank you, Professor Ram. You can switch off your video camera, please. Thank you. Okay. So, Paul, thank you so much for helping us organize this entire session. I want you to just give us some closing remarks, and then Chef Manjit Gill can also come and say a few words about the program yesterday and today. From my side, I would just like to say that this wouldn't have been possible without the team at the back end of the Chefs Manifesto, so the entire team, and IFCA, the entire team, all the panelists, all the speakers. I hope we learned a lot, and we're going to go back and use this in our restaurants, in our studies, on our social media, wherever it might be. Do tag the Chefs Manifesto, do join it, and most importantly, take back all these learnings into your kitchen and share it with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Chef Anahita. And I just want to reiterate the thank you to all of the partners. One of the key things about the Chefs Manifesto is that it's not about any one organization or one individual. It's actually about how we come together. And we've come together for 2 days with farmers, with chefs, with professors, doctors, experts from many different parts of the food system and around the world. And it's been a conversation about how we are driving change and how we can continue to drive change, particularly starting from the kitchen and thinking about the decisions that are made by chefs and how that connects to the SDGs. So I just want to really encourage people to take what they've learned today, to think about it, to then move forward and really think about how they can drive action locally. We have an ambitious agenda. We have lots of challenges in our world. And so we need everyone, no matter whether you're leading a kitchen or you're a member, just a new staff member, whether you're running an organization or you're a part of an organization, you all can bring something to this. And just like the team effort that brings together these kinds of events, we also need to work as a team to really drive forward. So I want to mention just a couple of calls to action. It's really important for chefs to sign on to the Chefs Manifesto. Sign on to the website at chefsmanifesto.com, become a part of the network, and that will get you invitations to events, to activities, so you can learn more. But you can also share and contribute. Follow along on social media, on Instagram, on different channels, so that you can then also keep up to date, hear from chefs that like what we have today, hear stories to be inspired, to be encouraged. We are going to have other resources coming out. We have a podcast coming out and a new case study season on different ingredients from around the world that we're working on with the Crop Trust and Food Forever. And that's going to be launching on the 25th of January. And so if you haven't seen this, it's a podcast and case study resource that will be available. And we talk about lots of things there that are helpful and practical, interviewing different chefs, different scientists, and engaging them. The Good Food for All, which I mentioned, is a campaign that you can get involved in and you can support. And the UN Food System Summit, which I talked to Katie about, becoming a food system hero, finding out about hosting a dialogue. There's so many ways you can use your voice, your action, to stand up in the community that you live in and to be an agent of change. And so we ask you to continue to join us and really get involved. We will share the content, and we please engage with it. We will be also putting together some certificates for people, and I know people have emailed about that. Just give us a few days, we will get that organized for you. And I just want to thank IFC again and our partners working behind the scenes to really make this happen, and all of our speakers and guests. So I'm going to now hand for the final word to Chef Manjit Gill, who helped launch and open the conversation and helped bring many of us together to say some final words. Chef Manjit, are you available?
Thank you, Paul. You are the backbone, of these Chefs Manifesto Advocacy, and really we had a fantastic 2 days seminar, and there are a lot of learnings in it, and I'm sure that everyone who presented it, who registered themselves and done the presentations, and the panelists, we all have learned so much, because the vast variety of from different disciplines, people were there, but they all have concern with the food. So it's not that the food is the subject only for the chefs, it is a subject for each and every one. Like at the end, when we talk about the wastage, we started talking about the guests. No doubt, the diner also have a responsibility towards the host, where host can be at home someone, or it can be a chef in the hotel, but they have the responsibilities. So everyone is concerned with the food. Everyone eats. Whatever you do, but every 2-3 hours, you have to think about food, and you need some food to nurture you and to go ahead and work. You need energy, you need stamina. It's all linked with the food. And today also the very knowledge-powered day for us. Every person has given a fantastic presentation, and a lot of information has come into that. And no doubt we talk about the plant base, but I think the panelists have put very well that how, as a Indian philosophy on vegetarian food or Indian practices, traditional and even now, that how milk is also important, along with to have a balanced food and to keep the environment also environment also pleasant and good, so that we don't spoil our planet. So it was very nice. And then I come up this, I like to tell about the TEF we have introduced, because in India we have seen from many, many years, there are a lot of new ingredients coming. You see, India is hungry of ingredients. We like to have, Indian chefs are hungry of ingredients, like to have ingredients, and we then use them, but with our Vedic knowledge, we use them with our traditions, and we create something new. Like the tea came from wherever, who has brought it, the way we drink tea, nobody drinks. We have worked on the tea for many, many years, and then we came out with the tea, which is good, which is, becoming very, very powerful, favorite to the whole world. So like TEF is also, I must say, but the TEF is a new ingredient introduced today, more in the professional platform. But I come across TEF a year back. It's a fantastic ingredient. It's very versatile. Even, Paul, you might remember that I took this for Food for All in Abu Dhabi last year. teff, and I prepared teff from the Indian side because now it is grown in India. It's local. We are not importing and then showing, yeah, this is our ingredient. It's our ingredient. It's a fantastic, very versatile ingredient and a lot of things. And particularly, it works very well when it's fermented. And it's very easy to digest. And as Professor said about resistant, the starch, and they are small things, but makes a lot of difference when we understand them and we know how to use them. And so all others were also very, knowledgeable, very lot of understanding we have now on this. Now the only thing is that we all have to join together. We, as many people can sign the Chefs Manifesto, must sign it and must start working on that. And as we have seen in the program and we have seen in the other international forums also, and even today, Professor Raja also, said that chefs are very, very important to turn the crop into the food. We chefs can turn the crop and encourage the people to eat it and then they enjoy it, they get nourishment, and they feel happy. So it's very important role we chefs can play in the nation building, in providing the right food to the people. So if it is said also, that the most trusted voice is of the chefs now as far as the food is concerned. We like these things, when somebody makes this statement that chef's voice is most trusted, then it makes us much more responsible at every moment when we talk about food. It means that we have to make us more knowledgeable. I'm not saying now so much knowledgeable that we become doctors. We need not to become doctors, but we must have a knowledge which help us in improve the cooking, and we are able to present the food to the diners, to the consumers, to the society, community, nation, so that everyone is healthy, not only from the physique, but from the mind and soul also. So I just want to say in the closing section, and thank you very much once again, Paul, the Chefs Manifesto team, IFCA team, to put a wonderful 2 days, uninterrupted, very smooth, this seminar we had. And I wish all the best to each and every one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chef, for your last words and comments. Thank you, Paul, and the entire team. Thank you, everyone who's been here. We are going to be ending this session. If you have any questions, any comments, you can always email on the Chefs Manifesto email ID, which will be with you on your email after you leave this webinar. Again, thank you so much and have a great evening.